You know what I mean? Like worst case, going
Yeah.
to, like restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
But you said you were flipping NFTs. That might be more interesting to talk about than Puerto Rican real estate.
Yeah. No, probably not, dude. Let's start off with like a podcast introduction, maybe.
Okay.
This is Proof of Drink. Again, if you watched the first episode, which I highly fucking doubt that you did, that time.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, not you. The people, people listening. Eventually, like
future listeners, you're speaking into the future
years.
right now.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, when it's like 10 years from now, I'm blown up, I'm super famous. If you listened or watched the first episode, that one was also recorded at like midnight on a Friday, where Evan Van Ness was like, let's do it now. And I was like, fuck, no, but okay. And so totally unprepared. Similar case here, totally fucking unprepared. I was just kind of bored and like thought it'd be cool to do a podcast. And then also, dude, I got like super nauseous an hour ago and I almost canceled. But then I was like, what else am I gonna do? So here we are. So this is proof of drink, and you're required to have a drink. So what is your drink?
So I actually have been drinking water. I will be very honest that I smoked a little marijuana medicinally right before.
You can't drink water. That's not the point of
well, so I had to go get a beer. I'm gonna get a beer, but I was drinking a lot of water because I smoked some pot and I needed to like.
Okay, so you do that, and I'll do the intro while you do that. This is off to a great start, guys. So yeah, the whole point of the podcast is basically, well, when it's a little bit more prepared, the idea is ahead of time, the guests will choose their drink of choice, and then we'll go out and we'll make the drink together. Or like if it's just a beer or something, I'll go out and buy it. And then I'll also like hopefully at some point in the future have some sort of media outlet where I can tell everyone, oh, hey, here's the drink that we're going to be drinking. And then you can go and get that drink or drink, like make it yourself and then drink it along with us when we eventually do these live at some point. So that's the idea. Ideally, it's like not going to just be boring beers. Also, look at these little guys. You're telling me, dude, you're telling me inflation isn't real? Look at the size of this beer. Like, Biden, what the fuck? They made our beers smaller.
No, why are you drinking the mini medallas? Just get like a full. See, this is the key. We're going back to core Puerto Rico. Like, if you live near a metropolitan area, you go to Costco and get like a 2-4 of proper beer.
No, they don't have that. They got little guys.
That's
small these. It's like a little baby bottle.
Do you know what this is? Have you ever seen these before?
No, what is that?
Pama is, I think, the top of like Puerto Rican drinking culture from what I've been able to see, from what I've learned. Okay, the medallas are like entry level, great beer, love it. Pama is like something that like it's a drink that my roommate's girlfriend is from PR, and so she has like cousins and family here, and we've hung out with them, and they drink this stuff. We'll be like on the beach, and like it will be like Pama on ice, and it's like pomegranate liqueur. It's like super, super, super sweet, but like 17% alcohol.
Does it taste good?
It kind of, okay, so it's like a little bit strong, and it gives you like kind of a cough syrupy effect alone. However, when you mix it, when you mix it.
How's your Spanish, dude? Wait, sorry, Ritter.
I know how to say like 4 things in Spanish. My Spanish is awful, but like pero is one of them. Dios mío is another one. I just like use these like common things. I know how to speak like conversational Spanish to people in my neighborhood.
Okay.
Anyways, Pama, great mix with red wine. So you like red wine and then some of this, and it kind of almost is like a sangria type thing, but it's like strong and mostly just like red wine, but like Costco red wine. So I'm gonna go make myself one of those. I'm gonna be in the kitchen.
Oh, you didn't even make it yet? What the fuck you been doing?
I know. I had to go to the closet and get it. We have these in storage.
All right. I guess I'll just like talk to myself. Okay, so yeah, so this is proof of drink where the guests just kind of like walk off screen and then I just kind of talk to myself. So wait, do you have like a microphone over there? Can you speak from over there?
Can you hear me if I'm speaking?
Kind of. You can kind of hear. So do you want it? So this is Myco, or this is Mark from Myco. That's why it says Myco. And hopefully today, what we'll be learning a little. Actually, we're going to do multiple things today. Number one thing we're going to do is give you an intro to Mark and what Myco is, because I really don't fucking know. Even though you sent me the materials like 10 times, like I kind of get it. Like I got to hear it again because last time we got distracted talking about CryptoPunks.
We're gonna get distracted talking about CryptoPunks.
Yeah, we're already distracted. Next, so right before this podcast, my normie friends, they got their eat stuck in the near Rainbow Bridge. Oh, how do I make it so I don't get notifications like that? And they're trying to talk to support. And obviously, anytime you're in Telegram, you get all the like scammer people who like pretend to be support coming at you. And so we got I'm gonna invite them to the Zoom just to explain the situation. But like they're clicking all these links that are like, let me read this one. They're like, Billy, is this legit? And the link is official dapps reauthentication.com. I'm like, they're telling me to put my MetaMask seed in official dapps reauthentication.com. Is this legit? I'm like, oh my God, you guys are the people. I was like, who the fuck falls for this? We found them. We found the people. They're coming on the podcast. It's gonna be exciting. You're gonna love it. So yeah, I don't know why I went on that little rant, but that's the podcast today. If you made it this far, we're already 21 minutes. That can't be right.
You should cut it. I think you should cut these things. Especially if we're just like trolling, or don't. I don't know. Maybe people will like the full thing and maybe they'll listen to the whole thing. Regardless. So I wanted to introduce myself. Yeah, you never fucking let me introduce myself.
No,
so
you didn't introduce yourself. It's not my fault.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Mark. I know Billy from way back in Consensus days. I used to work there and build a product called the Bounties Network. These days I work on something called Myco, which is all about people building communities that they own. We kind of rebuilt an all-in-one kind of community tool. So you can go from like basically zero to having like what we know is like a digital community. You have like a Discord kind of thing, and like you have DAOs, the elements, you have an ownership management system, roles with managing your people. But yeah, we kind of like rebuilt Discord. That's like the most exciting and probably most important part. We have like what we think is a cooler version of like what Discord offers you, because Discord, I don't know how you feel about it. I think it's just like not a very good tool for what we're trying to do this is like the key element. It was built for gamers. That tool is one which is meant for synchronous chat. You're in a game live and you're like, where are you? What are you doing right now? Blah, 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 blah. It's not meant for like large communities of people to share information, because the second you leave for more than an hour, you've lost all context. You have no idea what's happened in your absence, and there's no way to find important things unless they're pinned or whatever. So yeah, we have like a new kind of interface that lets.
So you hate Discord?
I think it's been fine for now. I don't want to hate on Discord. Like it was an important stepping stone. You know what I mean? Slack, the same thing. Like a lot of people are using Slack for digital communities, and it's like not terrible, but it's like actually not that great for that use case. For a team, for like what is literally like a company, yeah, a Slack with a bunch of channels is actually a really great way to manage workflows across different things. Doing it for a digital community of 150 to 1,500 people who are all talking to each other and sharing interesting things and building relationships, it's not very good.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Where I was going with that statement is, how do you feel about Telegram? Because Telegram's even worse. I don't know how the fuck Telegram took off, but like, what?
I love Telegram.
How do you, okay.
Here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I'll tell you. Telegram does a simple thing. And there is like, if you wanted to have, like, so this is the thing I didn't really mention about the Discord stuff, is we want to have like what we call like an ephemeral chat, which is like, you can only see it if you're there live. You have to like be there only the last 100 messages, kind of like the troll box in Poloniex, what it used to be.
Dude, I love
And so
the troll box is so important. You need the troll box.
Need a troll box for every community. Yeah. And so, you know, like we think there's a difference between like async chat and synchronous, or like async messages and synchronous chat and like live chat. And like, you know, Telegram, like DMs are also important. I like Telegram as a platform for DMs. That's kind of my ideal place to like talk to people. That's not my email.
But so like your DMs, I guess you go to like the personal tab, because like I feel like everything just gets lost in the sea of endless Telegram chats, and
I will be honest, I'm not in that many Telegram chats. Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm in like enough of them. I have like a critical mass, but I'm not in so many that I can't distinguish between them. I don't let notifications build up, or if I do, it's like I like mute them, and so like I don't really care about them. No, I use that as a place to like interact with a lot of important people in my life.
Okay. Cool. I need to do that then. I need to curate my Telegram experience a little bit more, because mine is utter chaos, and I have like been probably 1,000 channels. It's crazy. And
you just have to leave them. That's the key, is like you join channels and you're like, this is cool. Discord, the same thing. You have to leave channels. Right. Yeah. Discord messes up my computer if I'm in too many channels. It's just like that thing. The product is built in such a strange way.
My Mac doesn't go to sleep if Discord is open. I don't know why, but like Discord somehow still operates in the background when my Mac is sleeping. Then it does a little ping, and then my Mac unsleeps, and it's fucking horrible. I have to close it every time I like put my Mac to sleep, which is so stupid.
I mean, I remember the day I finally learned how to turn off Discord notifications.
Can you universally turn them off? Because I turn them off for like each individual like channel.
You can definitely universally turn them off. I remember, I believe. And the other thing you can do is not run it in, I don't run the app, only in the browser.
Oh, that's actually super smart. Holy shit.
Yeah, and like Safari one, I have like, if I have 2 Discord accounts, let's say, I can run one in one browser, another in another browser.
Ah, brilliant, dude. That's why you are the founder of Myco and Bounties Network, and a smart guy. Anyway, cool. So question about Myco. So do you think that, I mean, if it's a better Discord one, I think that's absolutely needed. I guess I've got 2 questions. First is, actually 3 questions. 1, is it decentralized?
That's a very good question. The short answer is like, not really. Okay. As a product, there are parts of our app that are on chains, or like on chain, practically speaking, and then a majority of things are run sort of like a centralized payment channel, in the sense that like you're signing messages. We have private keys signing messages. You're signing legal agreements. You know, we like have this transaction thing, but we're the one who just stores all the data. And this is something I mentioned, you know, in like the documents. And I think it's in our blueprint too, that, you know, like our plan is to decentralize Myco progressively, you know, and that's like, like we give people private keys so that we can crypto kill them. But practically speaking, like having built protocols and products on Ethereum before, at a time when the tectonic plates are shifting so much at the L1 layer, like, you know, is it going to be some like L2 chains? Is it going to be some, you know, app chains? Like, I just don't know. And honestly, it doesn't really matter, because we're trying to build that product anyways. And so eventually, when that dust settles at that layer, and then also interestingly and more recently, like, you know, we have things like Gnosis Guild, and there's like Zodiac project, which is like kind of like starting to make a push towards more standardization in DAO stacks, and building out of there, like since everybody uses the Gnosis Safe, or like so many people use a Gnosis Safe, they probably have like the biggest market share of any DAO product. Starting to create more standardization at that level of like, okay, here's how these different things work. Is also cool.
Do you use anything like Ceramic? Or
tell me what's House Ceramic. I don't know like enough about the project.
Basically, it's just like, I'm gonna butcher this like elevator pitch, and we should bring on like Mike Cena or Danny to talk about it. But it's like,
Oh, Ceramic. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, so
$3.
yes.
Sorry, that's yeah.
It's like $3. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't know their new brand as well. I know them as like $3 team in my head still. So
Yeah.
my apologies. But yeah, Senna and I, we talked like a few months ago. We don't use anything like that. We use like you sign in with a Twitter account. You know what I mean? And so like we're storing like a user object for you in a very sort of centralized way. We use Matrix for the chat. This is probably the most decentralized and most interesting one. We use Matrix for the chat. That's like the core communications platform that we can use on our product if we want. And that's how conversations are built. And so like our plan there is like the kind of first step towards these communities decentralizing themselves, which from our perspective implies that they are like capable of like hosting their own infrastructure or big enough that they can pay other people to do it for them.
Yeah.
Right. And so like if they want to have a customized Matrix server of their own, if they want to like run their own web interfaces, web servers, you know, in the future, like it'll be like a Myco client instead of querying our backend. But you know what I mean? But ultimately there are like steps we have to take to get there. One of which, the first one and the most important one is like building something people want. And so, you know, like that, we're kind of trying to build a product that a lot of people seem to be asking for, and like a thing that, you know, a group of people who don't have access to this kind of stuff with traditional DAO tech, who haven't been included yet, but who will be.
Interesting. Okay, so that's giving me like a much better idea of like what you're doing, because when you said you like rebuilt Discord, I thought you had like rebuilt an entire chat platform, but like, so you are,
it's like an interface. It's like an interface on top of yeah.
But so you can do things like, okay, like you've got Matrix, and then maybe you introduce some interesting functionality to the interface, like, you know, authenticate with CryptoPunk, or add a private key that you're able to sign messages or documents with, or, you know, yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have a pixel portrait? Do you have a pixel portrait? Are you a pixel portrait?
No, but right when they came out, I was going through the process of buying one, and I just like totally forgot about it. Yeah. But I'll buy one now. Or are they super expensive?
I think there's still like only 0.1, 0.2 to get into the queue. We just rounded off the like first 1,000, what we call the pixel portrait OGs. And then but also they're going to be this is the first that's going to be launching on Myco, and it's going to be a membership based social club where your portrait, or holding at least one portrait, is your ticket in. And then you can do really interesting things like, you know, and of course it's like kind of what you said is that, like you have a social wallet, and then you can have other wallets that you add, and like you use multiple wallets. I use multiple wallets. Nobody uses one wallet.
Right.
And so like at a DApp level, we kind of live in this multi-wallet world. You have many authentication tools and sort of like integrations.
So you, in terms of like that whole wallet aspect, are you guys trying to are you verging on like, are you entering into like identity world at all? Like, are you trying to be a product that helps people kind of have a singular digital presence, regardless of like the number of wallets they're using, and build like an aggregated reputation or identity?
It's interesting that you asked that question. The aggregated reputation identity, and again, my idea goes to like, my head goes to like the communities, right? Like you're a member of one community, and like, should you have reputation that's passed between them? And of course, like, even a minimal like Yelp like system for people or community members or something like that, you know, reviews, whatever, is like probably a good thing to eventually have. And, you know, like, should it be centralized, decentralized? Like, I don't know. In reality, like based on where we are at the product level, we would rather pull that data in if it lives somewhere else. And I would rather like be able to like maximize the signal about people who are adding keys, being like, hey, by the way, this person who we only knew as at, I don't know, Dark Fairy on Twitter, you know, actually has a private key that was like part of this attack, this DeFi attack like 6 months ago, like beware. You know, that would be a great thing to subscribe to. I don't have access to those kinds of lists. I'm sure, you know, they're out there, but like, that's kind of where my head goes with regards to the identity piece. Like people will add maybe identity features. Like to us, what we see is that honestly, people want to have individual identities in different communities.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And like, this is like and this is why where PFPs get so interesting, because in like this community, I'm number 3257. And you know, this community, I'm number 11. You know what I mean? Like you can, you're, and based on your PFP, you have sort of like different traits or values that are like embedded in your identity within that context of that community.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you're allowing people to wear many masks is like also very interesting and important.
Yeah. I think the optionality to be able to wear multiple masks is like extremely important. And I think also the ability to like prove that you genuinely are a specific identity is also important. And like to like the ability to prove you're somebody, the ability to aggregate reputation across context, but then also the ability to like not choose to aggregate across context if you don't want to, I think is super important. Because if you can only like, I thought about this a lot. It's like if you only have, like we were talking about having like a singular self-sovereign user-centric digital identity. And like if you only have one, you can like it's that Black Mirror episode, and you can just get like totally fucked, and like you do one bad thing, you got a bad reputation forever, and you can't recover. And so you need the ability to have like multiple identities and multiple personas, and allows you to like experiment with different kind of like, you know, voices.
Well, I mean, okay, to be clear, I think there's a dark path there where like everyone's an anon. I don't think that's the way. I think there are contexts within which like people can be anonymous, and I've certainly been anonymous in certain contexts before. And part of that is sometimes to like not dox myself when it's like an account that I have, you know what I mean? Like for instance, like I have my Beylin.eth account, which is doxed, and that's like me in a very public way. But then there's also, you know, like sort of financial privacy that I have with regards to like my portfolio, and I own a lot of other NFTs that are like not in that. And it's mostly because like my time scale on some of them is you know shorter. Sometimes I make different moves there. I like to have the option for privacy, I suppose is the best way to put it. So yeah, I definitely agree with the anon stuff. One of the things we're working on with Myco that I think is really cool, and I for anyone listening, this actually might have never happened. I have no idea. But one of the things we're exploring is the idea that like, imagine you, Billy, like authenticate to us with like, I don't know, your Gmail account or something, right? And then you like earn a bunch of points or, you know, things like that. And we have your signature sort of proving constantly a private key that's associated with that OAuth, proving that you've agreed to a bunch of things. The question that can be raised is like, do you actually need to know who the other person is on the other side of that at like a name level? Or can you allow people to have codes that are not full of non-doxed people, and that they will be different types of things? They're like completely different entities, and I don't know where that goes. And you know, but ultimately that like people who want to have doc spaces can have doc spaces too. And
I think you should. And I from what the materials you sent me, it seems like you're trying to go down like the very kind of buttoned up legal path. You're like creating LLCs for every single co. And
yeah, we're very bearish on like the cowboy. Look, I love America. I'm from Canada. I love America. And my favorite part of America is like Americana and like Wild West and like, you know, whatever. But playing the Wild West game against the US government or against regulatory bodies that have proven they are like generally not favorably viewing our space, you know, has made us scared. And so we kind of were like, we don't want to build a DAO platform. It would be irresponsible, we thought, to build a DAO platform with that is as powerful as we want to make this without at least like limiting people's liability. And doing things without limited liability to us is like very scary.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, you have two choices. One, you make it like a very permission thing where you're like auditing every single code that comes in to make sure that they're not like doing weird sketchy shit, because I feel like you'll be kind of like put on the line for all of this. Or you just make it totally open and permissionless and like don't go through the incumbent legal framework and like do it Wild West style and just don't take responsibility for anything.
Well, so the key for us, and again, this kind of goes back to our architecture, at least in the short term, is like, while we don't know, we control enough of it that if some regulatory body comes to us and says like, hey, these people were breaking the law, like they need to stop, we can help help them stop, so to speak. Or we'll kick them off the platform, practically speaking, because yeah, we're like not interested in breaking the law, people doing illegal things.
Eric,
What's up, Eric?
Drink.
I'm waiting for my marg. It's being delivered.
You're in a car?
I'm in a car. I'm outside the taqueria.
Oh, nice. Okay. We'll wait. So, like, how long do you think until you get your marg?
It's probably gonna be 10 minutes.
Is there like a gas station or something nearby that you could like go get a drink?
Oh, I need it right now, huh?
You need it right now. You're not allowed on the podcast without a drink. Also, Mark, you haven't been drinking. You need to take.
I've been drinking. No. I've been drinking.
I haven't seen it.
It's a big cup. I'm drinking out of like a tall glass. I'm like,
give me a minute here. I'll go get I'll come back in 2 minutes.
All right, perfect.
All right, hold on.
That's our hacked user.
Amazing.
Interesting.
Anyways.
Yeah, wait, going back to what were we talking about? Liability.
People breaking the law. That was the key. Is like, if people break the law, if someone comes to us and says like, hey, we think these people are breaking securities laws, or like for instance, one of the rules of these codes is you can't sell tokens. You can't sell tokens. If you're selling the tokens, they can only be rewarded to contributors. If you're selling them,
why would I have to register then, dude? No tokens? Do you not have a token?
We have points and we give them to our users. And for now, they're not liquid. They're not liquid in the beginning. They can't be liquid in the beginning. You can't do important things while they are liquid. When they're liquid, they can only be like loyalty points. They're like fake, fictitious value. You're a co-owner. In what capacity? You're not even a voter. You're lucky if you get voting rights. Congratulations. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get economic value rights. How many of these tokens actually pay dividends?
So many.
Legally, at scale.
Zero.
So
we're building a parallel system, dude.
I think here's what I'll say. It's like there's a DeFi bridge that is like, there's an island over here and an island over here. And like, let's say the mainstream 99% is over here and like 1% is over here.
Yes.
You're building a bridge from this direction over.
Empty Corona, dude.
It's not entirely empty.
Let me see how much is in there.
There's not a lot. There's barely any.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for my marg, dude. I'm waiting for my fucking marg, and I'm sitting outside of a fucking taqueria in my car.
Did you just go to a table and take an empty fucking Corona?
I took Cassie's marg, Cassie's Corona till I get my marg.
Can you like go in the taqueria and like
ask? It's literally coming right now.
Well, you can't literally can't be on the podcast. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. All right, my ETH is gone.
How much was it at ballpark? Like, you don't dox yourself, but how, like, ballpark?
It's like two, it's like 2.5. It's just 2.2 ETH. It's not even that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just
yeah.
I just don't know where it is.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah. I've look. Okay,
it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
I've lost ETH before. I'm not ashamed to admit it. It happens. I did mine. Like, I had private keys leaked because I was trying to deploy contracts and like I accidentally uploaded
about that, dude. As soon as that hits GitHub,
those GitHub bots,
it's gone.
Like, yeah, immediately. Anyway, so yeah, we've all been there. Well, that's all I'll say. We've all been there. Don't let it, like, it's a rite of passage. Welcome. Now you know to like never
I feel like
now
I'm in crypto.
Your money is not gone. It's not gone unless you put your MetaMask private key or seed phrase into that URL that they say. We'll talk about it once you get your drink. You get your drink. Let us finish this conversation. We got two islands. We got DeFi Island. We got Mainstream Island. Okay. I want to see where you're going with that, Mark. Where are we going with that? Two islands, and you're building the bridge.
Oh, and so here's the key. Okay, so you have like DeFi over here, which is building like new stuff on this new island, and there are people building bridges backwards to people, and then there's like people like, and this is like I'm talking like core DeFi smart contracts, and they're trying to like Sushi, you know what I mean? Like Sushi's trying to figure out, or Uniswap trying to figure out how do you make like what is technically DeFi as consumer friendly and usable as possible, right? And they're like kind of starting from the extreme point and going there. We kind of started with like the consumer standpoint and said, how do we implement that in this context, in this like very existing context, which is, Discord and Twitter and Facebook groups, where like people don't own their communities. Like it's simple. It's like, it's not complicated.
So
people are creating.
You're not even necessarily targeting like the crypto native audience. You're targeting like the mainstream.
We're building. Everyone can use my code. There's no reason they can't. We're building for pixel portraits because we're in that community. We know everything about crypto, and we know how to build crypto communities. Like I've built, I used to run startups at the University of Waterloo. I built up that community. We know how to do it at this point. And so we're doing it with intention, with a project that we, have like a higher stake in and help to launch and help to build. With pixel portraits, our first one, but from there, we're trying to onboard crypto people, non-crypto people.
Here comes my Marg.
It comes with some sort of wristband.
Cassie, come join the
Wow.
Thank you, Cass.
Want to join the podcast?
All right.
Russ, you got to turn your volume back on, dude.
Can you not hear me?
This is why his ETH is gone, because he cannot operate.
Can you not hear me?
Tragic.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, fuck you.
All
right.
1 second,
Let's do
Eric.
this.
That makes okay. Mark, we'll get back to that because that's super interesting, and I really like that analogy. Like, I want to hit on that more, but we got to get Eric out of the equation here. So, Eric, you want to describe your situation?
And for the context, okay, wait, just to add a little additional context. There some point in the future, we don't know when, at some point someone will be listening to this. And we have to assume that like a proportion of them, right? Well, and we have to assume a proportion of them are not crypto native yet, right? Who like don't know the lesson you have just learned, right? And like
is listening to me, who's not crypto native, but anyway.
When you're famous,
I'm famous.
Yeah. No, someone will eventually. You like trust me.
You're right.
Anyways,
yeah, I'm like a crypto kindergartner. Like I shouldn't have been allowed in this fucking world. Like I shouldn't have been allowed to do what I was doing. That's part of the problem.
So here's a question: Do you wish you'd been warned? Were you not warned sufficiently?
I mean, it's supposed to work. So it's like I think other people have fucking ETH in their near wallet, right?
I'm pretty sure it works. I'm pretty sure.
Is it just a UI problem? I mean, it sounds like it's like it sounds like it's like their UI problem, like some Aurora I don't know what the fuck Aurora contract is.
No, it's it's a UI problem, and so your money's not gone. It's definitely so don't do any weird sketchy shit to try to get it back, because you should only be interacting with like the applications that you've interacted with historically. And
wait, but you already gave away your private keys or your
no, I haven't given away shit. All I've done is I had tokens on Coinbase, right? And everyone's yield farming now, and it was like, all right, we're gonna go over to RF, we're gonna do some fucking yield farming. And I didn't even have like my own wallet. I made a MetaMask and then sent ETH there, right? And then and then I had to go send it to my near. I thought I had to send it to my near wallet in order to get to RF to then do
yes,
right?
Yeah,
isn't that right?
You are 100% spot on so far. Yep.
But then, so I sent my near from MetaMask to my near wallet, and it went through just fine. And then I was like, okay.
You didn't just send it. You used the bridge, right?
I used the bridge.
Okay.
I used the bridge.
Good.
I was like, all right, that works. And then I went to go. I was like, okay, it's through. So now I'm going to send my ETH. And I went and sent my ETH, and it confirmed everything's all good, but it's not showing up in the near wallet.
So I think that ETH just doesn't, from like the screenshot you showed me from like the people from the team talking to you, I think it's like a front end metadata issue, and like ETH is there in your wallet. It's just not showing up. And I'm pretty sure that if you just go into, I would assume this will work, but if not, we can like look into it more. Just go to the bridge again, and then toggle it so that you're sending from near back to Ethereum, and then go to the ETH option and click on it. It'll show zero balance before you click on it, but then once you click on it, the balance shows up. Because I was having that same issue. Like, the balance was showing 0 in the drop down list, but then when you click on the token, the balance isn't 0. Have you tried that?
Okay, so like, so I'm on the Rainbow Bridge right now, and I'm like starting a new transfer. I'm going to go from to the moon to my.
You just dox yourself to the whole world.
Oh, oops. Gotta change that.
Welcome to the show.
To my other wallet. And it's all right. It's got unique. Oh, why did we never do this? Now it's there. It is that now it is there.
Dude, Mark, this has been like an ongoing saga for like a while. Like,
Honestly, I'm just happy.
No, it's been like 3 days. It's been 3 days.
like 3 days.
I'm just happy you didn't give away your seed words. I was under the impression you had given them away already, but you didn't, which makes me very happy for you. Congratulations.
No,
you are safe.
Yeah.
Wow, so now it's so it says in ETH. Is that good?
You didn't think to click on the thing that said ETH.
No, it says in. Well, I've never. It doesn't show up in the wallet. It doesn't show up anywhere else. But when you try to send it on the Rainbow Bridge, then it shows up.
Okay. Yeah, the N is for near, so it's just ETH that's on near.
Okay.
But yeah, it's there.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Incredible. Wow, problem solved.
Problem solved.
Triage.
Welcome to Billy's customer support. Glad we could
You. I mean, dude, there's no fucking customer support. It's unbelievable.
The reason I wanted to add you to like the podcast is because I wanted you to explain like the situation of your customer support experience.
I mean, my customer support experience is hitting up anyone I knew who knew anything about crypto and having them try to help me. And then it was Caleb going on a Telegram chat with the Rainbow Bridge support team, who then, the chat was mirrored, and then someone else was trying to scam him by telling him like whatever that link was. I don't know. It was all sketch.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah,
I mean, asking your closest friends for like advice in these situations is the right thing to do. Like if you're listening to this and you know people who are in crypto, if you ever have these kinds of questions, just ask people you know. I guarantee that the people who are in crypto would be happy to help you. Like whenever I have like old friends who know I'm in crypto message me, like it's absolutely delightful. So yeah,
look,
like,
you guys
don't ever feel bad about that.
And
we're there.
Don't click random ass links from random people in Telegram. Every time you ask for help in Telegram, some scammer is going to come and message you and pretend like they're trying to help. And then they're eventually going to end up saying, hey, why don't you click this link? And this link will get you to the help that you need. And that link is how you lose all of your crypto. And that's where Caleb got. And it literally, I mean, this one was really fucking obvious that this wasn't a real thing. What was the URL?
They said kindly proceed. Anytime someone says kindly proceed, you know you're getting scammed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Sorry, we're getting more people in here. This is a great podcast. Eric, I'm glad that your ETH is safe.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Billy.
I don't know how to get it from like, you need to get it to wrapped ETH though, right? To farm with it.
Yeah, I haven't even gotten to that point yet. I was just trying to get to this whole new world, but
yeah, we'll figure that part out later.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. This is great.
Pleasure to meet you.
Enjoy your margarita.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you, Mark.
Cheers.
This is the perfect
Cheers.
podcast. I don't think you even knew that, but
This was great. Very successful. 10 out of 10.
All right, dude. Enjoy your day.
All right. Later, guys. Bye.
Peace. Nice.
You know, I'm not embarrassed to say that the only Rainbow Bridge I've ever been on is the bridge over Niagara Falls between the United States and Canada.
You've never played Mario Kart?
Oh, okay, yeah, Mario Kart. Okay, that's the other Rainbow Bridge.
Is that Rainbow Bridge? Isn't
that is the original Rainbow Bridge? Yeah, you're right.
That sounds like a
It's
cool.
a 2, fine. But the point is, I've never used the like near Rainbow Bridge. Are you guys farming on there? Is that what you guys were talking about? You're farming.
He's trying to.
Okay.
Dude, he got.
Yeah.
So this is his first time seeing ridiculous percent APYs, and that's always like a very interesting experience to watch people go from like seeing their bank account making 0.01% to seeing platforms that are offering 500,000% APY and being like,
But
what the fuck? am I
how
doing?
long did it take him to understand the nature of the risk involved in these
He has
projects?
no idea. That's the problem, is these people have absolutely no idea. Like he has.
Do you remember that saying? Do you remember that saying? This is the DeFi summer saying. If you don't know where the yield is coming from, you are the yield. That was the lesson. That was the DeFi summer lesson. It's like, if you don't know, it's you. Like,
yeah, there's not just new money being created. Like we're just not we, but people are just taking your money. Like it's all game chicken. It's all Ponzi's all the way down.
All the way down.
All the way down. And so you just got to, you can make money. I'm not saying you can't, but you have to get out, because the algo stable is not the future of money. It is not going to be the future world reserve currency. It's just a Ponzi scheme. And you got to get out before everyone else gets out, or else you're going to lose all your money. Like, did you see Titan or follow that at all?
I followed it. I mean, that was the thing that kicked Mark Cuban out, right? Like he kind of went dark after that, right?
Yeah, he got wrecked.
It's actually really tragic to see that he, and I honestly, I don't even think it's because he's not here. I bet he's like an anon. It's because I'm sure he like a lot of people probably jumped on that to be like, crypto is not legitimate, like in his circles probably jumped on that and we're like, crypto's illegitimate, you just got rinsed, you played yourself, congratulations. And meanwhile, I'm sure like the 99% of other things he's done have made him like shit tons of money, but he has to be quiet about it now because
You're
it's just
so
like,
right. I didn't think about that, but he's definitely not. Yeah.
He's around. Of course he's around. What is, you think he's just gonna like leave? He invested in one Ponzi and was like, I'm done playing this game. You know what I mean? What is he, like a child? No, you don't become Mark Cuban being a child. That's just not how the world works.
That's a very good point. But yeah, with Titan, that was the first time like a lot of my like normie friends had seen anything like this, and they were like trying to explain like the mechanics of Titan to me, and they're like, no, this one's real, this one's legitimate, like this one's gonna work. And I'm like, it's not. It's really not. This is literally just a straight up Ponzi scheme. Like you're gonna
They're just more creative. They're like more flourishes.
Yeah. They got more buzzwords. They got more equations in the white paper.
Right, exactly. They just like more complex math. It's not like really that different. It's just more.
It's so funny. And I just like, I'm not really good at handling those conversations, because like we've been in this shit for so long where it's like it's nonsensical. Like the words and the arguments that are being made, it's like, please, this is just 0% right. Like, please just stop. And then they like, get all mad because I'm just like, no, I don't know. It's just like
okay, I'll be honest. And this is another, I'll admit this. I'm not ashamed that I don't want to say I missed out on DeFi summer. I did not.
I did too, kind of
fully.
Yeah.
I wasn't farming the Ponzi's. I wasn't doing all this new stuff. I think DeFi is cool. I'm not the ideal customer for it. I'm not going to spend time trading or like doing, it's like, it takes work. You're like kind of a mini financial analyst. And like, I never had like a time for more interest in it, but it's cool. And I watch it. The only thing I've ever farmed is Alchemix. And to me, that was like, it was more of like an investment in the team than it is like it's almost like an angel check at that point in my idea. Like you know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of like more of the consideration as I see it with regards to these things. And like, yeah, like everything else is a Ponzi and like people running around. People are still doing that right now to this day. People are like, it's just this whole cycle. But You know,
It's never ending.
I learned quickly. Maybe it's because I'm not part of the right Telegram chats. You know, like I don't have the problem you have. You're like popular on Telegram. I'm not. I'm quiet. And it's great. I love it. That's actually amazing.
That's the way
But the key is I've also learned that in those kinds of contexts, I'm lower down on the totem pole in terms of the like information flow. The human centipede. I'm like eating shit. Like I don't get anything. I don't know anything. I don't know these things. So I've accepted that position. But this is why I trade JPEGs, is because like I can trade JPEGs. Like the alpha is what I think about the art, and I buy art I like, and like art that is cool, and like that's the alpha. That's it. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
the JPEGs are a whole nother level of Ponzi. It's like honestly unbelievable. Imagine if you had like, oh my God, 1,000 tokens, non-divisible, how much you can manipulate that market. Like it's next level Ponzi's, and it's kind of ridiculous. And
I think the markets definitely lend themselves to what I'll call like pumponomics, right? Like as a mechanism, right? Like because like if you're talking about like an order book of ERC20 tokens or or fungible tokens, let's say, versus like non-fungible listings, or even like an order book type mechanism, there are things you could do, but whatever. Like ultimately they are non-fungible, and ultimately whatever.
Yeah.
Like yeah, no, go ahead.
Also going back to like the DeFi thing, I wanted to say like I missed out on that whole thing too, because not for the reason that I didn't think it was interesting or whatever. I just was so scared. I was like, you guys are just throwing your money around into these random ass smart contracts, like your entire net worth. Do you not know like how fragile and vulnerable all this code is? And so it didn't go wrong for a whole lot of people. Like a whole lot of people made a whole lot of money just because they blindly aped into all this stuff, not knowing how at risk their money was. They're like, oh, it's Ethereum. It's like entirely safe. There's zero risk here. I was like, absolutely not. Like the risk percent of all of your money getting lost is way higher than the percent yield that you're getting. Until
it's interesting. It's interesting that you frame it this way, because, and I never thought about it, which is that like, yeah, like if you are past a certain, it's like that meme of the like high net worth, like doesn't make it, or like high IQ, excuse me, but it's like the flip. So it's like the high IQ like doesn't make it and isn't thinking the same thing as the low level. They're actually thinking like, this is really unsafe. I should not buy this. Like this will wreck me. And then you have like middle, which is like, maybe I'll put a little bit of money in and make some money. And then you have the low end, which is like, oh, what does this button do? Click. And you know what I mean? And that was really what it took. Like, yeah, I remember those days. I remember those smart contracts. I read through some of them and I was like, I like, nope, not
you had to be an absolute degenerate fucking ape who knew nothing about any of this stuff to make the most amount of money. Like those are the people that made it, and now they're rich, and now they're like the loudest voices in our ecosystem. It's kind of crazy. But
well, yeah, I mean, I think that with the voices stuff, like I think it's like mostly short term. It's very hard to stay a big voice.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't ultimately past a certain point, like you can't just do the same thing again, or you know what I mean? Like influence is kind of expendable. You have to kind of keep producing new content, right? Like there's that sort of like time basis to it. So
very good point.
That's the key. Is like there's a bunch of people who come and go when they make it or whatever, but then they usually go quiet.
And I keep reiterating on Twitter and to everyone, like when DeFi was the thing, everyone's like, blockchain is DeFi, and like Ethereum is DeFi. And I was like, no guys, like this is use case number one. I didn't even think this was going to be the first use case, but you know what? It is use case number one. And
yeah, it seemed obvious that DeFi would be the first one, only because they would be the most willing to pay fees. Like compare, like in terms of like opportunity costs.
Point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like yeah.
I thought
moving large amounts of money.
I naively thought like identity was going to be the first thing, just because I was like down that rabbit hole, and I thought that like that was the foundational thing that was required for everything else to work. And then everyone just like, no, we don't even need identity to do DeFi or NFTs. And so Yeah, these are like
identity is like if you took imagine you took a Wikipedia article for everything. Have you ever heard of that game where you like if you take a Wikipedia article for everything, it eventually ends up at like philosophy or something? You take the first word of every Wikipedia article, it's philosophy. If you did that, it would be for instead of like going to philosophy, sorry, what were we just
it's
completely
the marijuanas, dude.
It is the marijuana. I
Yeah.
haven't smoked pot in a very long time.
I'm
I
so drunk.
had a long week.
I like, and I also kind of want another beer. But identity is like the root of everything. So I just thought that was naturally be first. But anyway, where I was going with that is like DeFi, tip of the iceberg. NFTs, also tip of the iceberg. Like there is so much shit coming. It's unbelievable. And so like people are, I don't even want to talk about like investment shit on this podcast, but like people are like all in blue chip DeFi protocols. And it's like, oh, you could own that at some like crazy inflated valuation, or you could own like the network that all this stuff's going to be built on. That's going to be an index of all the use cases, all the products of that address every single use case. And so I don't know. I'm still like super bullish if they're ETH. I
mean, I'm an ETH maxi. I told you I don't use it. I am not ashamed to admit I only use ETH main chain and then test chains. I don't play on the other chains. I've never had a need to. There's never like, but I also don't do DeFi stuff, so that's probably part of it. But like, you know, the NFTs on Solana, like I don't really buy them. No, I find like there's just like better art on Ethereum, you know, and so
it's like I have not to date seen a single ounce of innovation happen on any other chain. Every other chain, I mean, besides from like the protocol layer, like sure people are coming but like at the application layer, every single person that's innovating is building on Ethereum, and they're launching on Ethereum first, and then every chain is literally just copying what's on Ethereum. I haven't seen a single new application yet.
I just think no, but I don't really look. That's the other thing. I don't really pay attention because it's literally a distraction.
It's a distraction.
It's like it's not a consideration. Like if someone like I'm imagining in my head, we're built on Ethereum, right? Like Michael, right? We give people public-private keys. The public-private keys we give them are like Ethereum compliant keys by default. You know what I mean? That's the like basis sort of that we think about things. If you're talking about identity, like that's their identity is an Ethereum key. It's not a Solana key, and it's not like a Bitcoin key. That's just like how the system is playing out because they want to use, you know, like let's say our users want to like store money and they want to do it in a group account and, you know, need like a multi-sig and like that. Of course, you're going to build a multi-sig on Ethereum because you're going to use Gnosis. You know what I mean? So it's like the speed to development is just so much faster on Ethereum versus anywhere else. Like at some point it like, like people used to say that like, oh, Ethereum like hasn't hit critical mass, and then like it kind of maybe did, and then there was a bunch of ETH killers who are like, it never will, we're always going to be here. But like, no, I don't think that's true. And I like the ETH killer thesis is getting weaker and weaker, I think, by the day. And I like I see a lot of the like marketing machine L1 L2s as just like a bigger, they're like the meta version of the things that are on those chains, you know. And so it's like they're like what it, you know, I know that I don't want to say that there's no innovation that's happened on other L2s, you know, like Solana. There's been changes. I think that they like emphasize the wrong things. And you know, I got in a conversation with one of the founders of Solana on Twitter a few days before the hack, and I tweeted at him. He's like, "Oh, something, thousands of TPS," and I was like, "But what would the other hardware considerations be if that were the case?" And my tweet got no replies, no likes, no nothing. And then like 2 days later, their chain ran out of fucking RAM and shut down. You know, and so it's like it's these kinds of things that like there's a ton of money behind it. You know, I respect the pump. I like, and this is the same thing I say during DeFi. I respect the pump. Make your money. We live in a world of abundance. Free money from the Cantillon effect coming from central banks. Like, welcome to the world. Congratulations. But pero, you know, stay safe. You know, and like be prudent.
How do you stay undistracted? Is that a word? Undistracted?
Sure, not focus.
Yeah, like, but okay. So think about or let me rephrase that.
Okay.
How
I'm gonna
can
take another drink.
Yeah, let's get another drink.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm gonna finish this, ask the question, and then we'll go get our drinks and then think about it, and then we'll come back. So
Okay.
I see new entrants to the ecosystem continually falling into the black hole of being distracted by monetary gain. And they think that all this stuff is about is a new way for them to make money. And for some people who like maybe don't have like, you know, the only thing on their mind is money because they like need to survive, maybe that's important. But there's a lot of people, like really intelligent people, who are flooding in and then just like playing these Ponzi farms, playing these NFTs, and not building anything or providing like any value to the ecosystem. And because the distractions are so enticing. It's like you can flip an NFT and go from $1,000 to maybe like $1 million in a week. And so
I think that there's a part of we should
we're
wait.
gonna-
We need to get more
we're
drinks.
gonna get another drink and then think about it. But it's like, okay,
All right.
what one? Okay, maybe it is only one, but like one, how do we get those people to do productive stuff and to like get the veil removed from their eyes that is this distraction that is ridiculous amounts of money, and be like, no, there's like a bigger play here. There's an entire war going on that's being fought. Like, we're building an entirely new system and we like need you to contribute to this. And if you just contribute to this, you'll inevitably make a bunch of money, and you don't need to have imposter syndrome. Like, you are good enough. Any skill that you have is applicable to this ecosystem. You just need to get in and start working and not get distracted. So like, how do we get people to not be distracted is my question. And why, like, your opinion on why people.
I think I have.
If
Yeah. We'll
money-
talk.
Yeah, we'll talk. Okay, I'll be right
We'll
back.
talk. I'm like, I have thoughts, but I have to get a new drink before I can share them. So.
You like my new profile picture?
You got this custom made. You're like an anime character.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that asshole who says like, oh, I was an anime character a year ago. But technically that was what I did. My pixel portrait is like my anime character turned into a pixel portrait.
Into a
I don't think, like, do you know what a pixel portrait is?
Yes.
So it's like a CryptoPunk style, one-of-one, custom made based on any image you want. And so I have one for like what was my old PFP, which was an anime version of myself. And then now the follow-up is that it's a CryptoPunk style version of that anime. Okay.
Gotcha.
And so my question to you while we're making drinks is, are you about to have a punk style portrait as your PFP in a year? Like, is that where we're headed?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And so, do you think that I should sell my CryptoPunk right now?
Why do you say that? I'm interested in why you think absolutely not. That to me is interesting on its own before we move on to whether or not I think you should sell your CryptoPunk.
I can't find my bottle opener. Give me a second.
You find your bottle opener. I mean, it's nice art. You know, like it's well done. The surfer aesthetic and all that.
Great. So the reason why I say, like, I think it's just gonna get like old. It's like, oh, you're a CryptoPunk, like, okay, sick. Like, you gotta
Yeah,
say,
I think it's already old.
it's already getting old. Yeah, like,
But it doesn't mean they're not valuable.
So I shouldn't
They're
sell.
just like a different asset. No, of course not. I mean, I don't know about you, Billy. I don't know about you. My CryptoPunk, I have one CryptoPunk. I will dox that. And my CryptoPunk, she is very rare in that she's rare, not in some, like she has, you know, a nice trait, whatever, but more importantly,
white
she's
hair
rare. No. Anyways, I don't want to dox myself too much, but anyways, she's symmetrical. There's not a lot of symmetrical punks. She's symmetrical. Almost exactly. They're off by like a pixel or two, but look at it. It's not a track trait. They don't put it on Larva Labs, but like I have a nice looking punk. Maybe if I send you a link, will you not dox me? Can you just like, I'll send you a picture of the punk and you
send me
can
a picture.
share your thoughts. Just don't dox me. Please don't dox me.
I'm not gonna fucking dox you. I don't care. I want to compare yours to mine because I feel like I like my guy. He's like kind of symmetrical.
What I'll say is I used to be a CryptoPunk trader and I made money off of that. And that was what ended up paying for my CryptoPunk. But so I like paid for my CryptoPunk day trading other CryptoPunks. And I've bought and sold a lot of CryptoPunks. And I've sold CryptoPunks to a lot of like interesting people. And it's fun, like if they have .eth names, sometimes I'll look them up. But
Damn,
but it's a different thing. Like I'm a trader. Like at that point, like I'm like, it's a different thing. I'm just like playing this market and providing market efficiency when market efficiency is not there. Most of the time in the context of NFTs, that's like someone gets scared, you know, the prime opportunity is like when you see someone in the transactions that shows they, you know, sold it for a given price or they bought it for a given price and they're about to sell it for like a loss. If someone is selling at a loss, that is telling you something, you know, and so like those kinds of opportunities are like, yeah.
This brings me back to my question. Like even you are getting sucked into the trading game.
The key is that I like art. I've always liked art. I studied art history. I painted a little, you know, I'm like an artsy guy. I've always been an artsy guy. So for me, I like this NFT pump because like I can make decisions based on my visual dictionary, what I think looks good, what I would hang on my walls. A lot of times the art I buy is things I'd hang on my walls. More recently, it's communities I like. But that's like a more recent thesis for some of my NFTs. But they have to look good. And if they don't look good, I don't buy them. I do not buy them.
Of course not. Except these, I just bought some dumb shit. I don't want to dox myself, but that's what I do. I just buy stuff that I like want to hang up. Even if like I know it's not going to be valuable in the future, like stuff that looks cool. But the time that you're spending browsing these NFT selections and in these communities, you're not building Myco. And so you're getting distracted because of money or because of something, but you're not like, unless your justification to yourself is like market making and providing liquidity or whatever. I don't know. There could be some weird justification, but like,
sure.
Back to the original question. It's like, even you're getting distracted, even I'm getting distracted. I'm easily distractible, but like you.
For me, it's not a distraction. Like, again, like for me, like the fact that I'm, you know, okay. And again, going back to Myco, like our core, like first starting use case is pixel portraits, right? What is an NFT community? It comes from a very deep knowledge of the NFT community, like how this new token works, how it should be traded, what it means to different people, what you can do with these different tokens. And so I published a piece a couple of days ago about like PFPs as community tokens. I think they're the big future. I think it's super obvious, it's right in front of us, but nobody's like actually seeing it and doing the thing. And so like we're going to do it with pixel portraits and other people are going to do it as well. Hopefully some of them do it on Myco. But ultimately, like, yeah, there's this thing we're not realizing. And I only would have seen that by being, you know, knees deep in these markets and just like, seeing a lot of what happens. I don't participate in everything. I don't buy a lot of the like random crap. I don't participate in the PFP games. I buy and trade some PFPs sometimes, but very rarely. And I definitely don't do the whole like signal my PFP of the week by updating my, you know, my avatar. Like that's not something I can never do. And I could never, you know, so there's like lines you have to draw, but ultimately like these markets are interesting.
That's an interesting perspective. So like where I was going is like zooming out a bit. It's like, okay, viewing things as a species that is like on the verge of like killing the planet that it lives on and just like going extinct. So like progression to me is like things that get us towards, you know, improving humanity.
Yeah.
And
Do you know, I'm gonna interrupt you because I want to answer your original question. I never got a chance. You had this long-winded question. I wanted to answer it. And I've been talking about other
no,
bullshit.
no. I want to finish my statement because I'm totally gonna forget because I'm kind of drunk. So like to me, I view like that as progression. And so this is an interesting point. It's like, okay, we might need to immerse ourselves in these waves of cultural trends that maybe aren't like utilitarian and are just like culturally relevant, just so that we can understand the perspective of, you know, the average person or the masses, or like just the like what people want and what people need, so that we can build things that address their needs. And then ultimately that's all that matters, and like they're building for their needs ultimately builds for the needs of humanity, and then we like save humanity. I don't know.
I mean, I think with regards to what you were saying just now, I think it's one of those things where like brand matters, right? And like otherwise you get commodified. Otherwise you're the same as everybody else. You're just like a number. But if you have a brand, if you have like a set of values that drives people in, or something that you stand for, something that aligns with the people who are supposed to be engaging with you, you know, like that is like usually what gets you through it.
But I want to realize that brand and to figure out who you are, you need to immerse yourselves in these other cultures? Or do you think you can just like have a brand, know in your heart what you are, be that, and then that will become like a new culture, or like a new cultural meme, or like a new type of thing?
I don't think anyone who creates a new cultural meme, or here's actually what rather how I'll state it. Very rarely, not just iterative. It's not necessarily iterative. But very rarely do people like create big sort of cultural movements who don't consume other people's content as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nobody's building in a dark room alone. They're building, looking at what everyone else does, and honestly, probably burning half of their ideas that like aren't the good ones, you know? And so I think that's like the sort of the point, and allows you to experiment and allows founders to experiment in such a way that, you know, like our company, we're not trying to build that for our users, but we can still be aware of where things are headed and always make sure that our trajectory is pointing towards that, you know, even if like I'm not the typical user of that kind of product, or, you know, trying to use it myself.
Yeah, I think you're entirely right. I think like the best builders are the consumers, because they understand like you're building for yourself. Yeah, that's like the best products. So I wasn't saying like there's, I was just.
Well, I wanted to go back.
Conclusion. Yeah, go back.
Yeah, I want to go back. So you were talking about people being distracted with wealth. And I think that there's sort of like usually two situations that happen. One situation is that like, there's never a number people can think of that will satisfy them.
Yeah.
You know, there are like some people who like, there no such number exists. And like, that just like is what it is. Let's talk about everybody else.
There is no number that exists, because even if you think there is a number that exists, when you get there, there's a next number.
The key factor is that abundance is a mindset more than a state of being. And so like, ultimately it's true. No, but it's true. Seriously,
I know it's true. That was just like, it's like such a big statement.
But it's true. Abundant thinking is like something you have to practice. It's not a state. Like, like it's like and this is something we see when you actually look at the happiness of people who live in more squalor than the people who have the most money.
They're so much happier.
They're so much happier. And so exactly. Happier. Yeah. And so going back, like abundance of mindset, and usually, again, not everybody, usually the majority of people eventually realizes the like deeper part and sort of goes deeper down the rabbit hole and starts to understand like the context within which this is happening as what is like the sort of first and primary techno-political movement of history, where like it was a direct result of the 2008 crisis that like Bitcoin was founded, or at least from a symbolic perspective, that started crypto off on this like very political, you know, move. And I think that that's like, it is inextricably linked to what we're doing. And that's why I support Ethereum, is because a lot of those values are being continually projected and built on in Ethereum. We have Gitcoin grants. How does Solana have a Gitcoin grants? Does Solana have public goods?
They have a CEO.
Do they care?
They have a
They have a
chief
CEO,
executive
right.
officer. Yeah,
So it's like a different problem at that point, but they are like, but I'm talking about public goods at a global level.
Right.
And this is something we've starting to see with the things like Gitcoin, where like charities sometimes will join and will get money. You know what I mean? Like there's a values investment element there.
Yeah.
And, you know, ultimately, like once you get past a certain point of like money you've made or, you know, whatever, you stop caring about the local issues. Like you're not worried about your next job, your next meal, and you start to think about like, what do I want to do here? And
Right.
that is a really beautiful turning point for a lot of people. And they start, usually that's like the point where they start doing like the most interesting things, because that's the things that they're most passionate about.
Yeah.
You know, it comes kind of from like within.
I love how I have this like really nice microphone and it's just like, I'm not using it. I'm just like connected to my computer audio, but
Why?
because
you need the nice mic.
we're on the fly. Like, does it sound okay? Should I connect now?
Connected. I mean, I have no idea how it'll sound. Do I sound fine? I'm trying to use
You
my good
sound
mic.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so okay, question for you. So another like random philosophical question. So we're like, I think a lot of people in the world are like increasingly dissatisfied. At least from my perspective. Maybe I'm in these echo chambers where people are like depressed and sad, but it seems like, you know, people aren't happy, and they have more now than they ever have. Like we have access to like like life's fucking great, but everyone's so sad. And I think like it's largely, at least in my mind, a result of this kind of capitalistic structure that, and the marketing associated with it, that kind of like tells people that they always need more. Like there's always something more to get. And like that number that you were talking about is always higher. Like there is no
Our obsession with large numbers.
obsession with large numbers, number go up. And so like people are, you know, they could be in this third world country totally fucking happy with having nothing. And then they see like the flashy car come, they in their life, they've never seen the flashy car because to them, it doesn't even exist. And so they're happy with their little shack. But then the flashy car comes through and they're like, what the fuck? That exists? I want that thing. And then they get sucked into the black hole of capitalism, and then they start working their ass off, being totally fucking depressed just to get the car. And then they get the car, and then they're like, what's next? And so like, is there a solution? Is that the answer? Is that the answer to like human progress? Or can we do something better?
I think there's an element there that reminds me of when the people from like Europe came to the Americas and brought along of like a bunch of diseases.
Yeah.
It's like sort of like mental diseases, mental viruses, literally brain viruses that are being transplanted into like the globe and people's mindsets. Yeah. And like people were tricked into thinking that they need a bunch of shit they don't need, or that they can be controlled by a bunch of ads that, you know, you have to learn a certain amount of like defenses against these things. You have to learn how to use the internet and an open tool. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, like it takes a level of education. And so you have to step up.
I think what you just said, even recognizing that you need to build mental defenses to these things, 99.999% of the world isn't even going to get to the point of recognizing that they need them. Like you're just a really
I think people
that's why you're undistracted.
I think no, that's not true. I'm sometimes distracted, but no, even if people no, people will build up their own defenses.
No, they won't. They're just gonna get sucked in.
They'll do it subconsciously. They'll do it subconsciously. They won't do it consciously. They'll build up their own defenses. Absolutely.
I don't think
you naturally. Your friend earlier just built up a natural defense. He doesn't acknowledge that, like, hey, I just got inoculated against a particular kind of brain virus, but that's what just happened. We watched it happen. Congratulations, you were the friend who inoculated him, you know? But like ultimately, like that's what you have to do. You have to protect people against new viruses because, you know, brain viruses are real. And
but the brain viruses are evolving. They're like a life form that are exponentially evolving on this curve that is basically vertical, and they're only getting better, and they're powered by the smartest people in the world. Like there's these people, the smartest engineers, bless you, all the top colleges, they are all going to work for Google, they're going to work for Facebook, bless you again, and they're going there and they're building the brain viruses. So We got the smartest people in the world building these brain viruses that are deteriorating society. How do we make that not the case?
I think the Matrix movie was a good start.
That is a good, yeah, fuck, I like that. That's great. There's a new one coming out too. Maybe that's
There's a new one coming out. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. It's like
answer.
reviving the, the energy. Yeah, man.
Mhm.
I don't know. You have to want to look. It has to come from within. You have to be curious, and then it literally is a rabbit hole, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you eventually find interesting things. And it's a tree, and you're going in places you're particularly interested in. But ultimately, you have to have a quest for knowledge. You have to want to know the truth. And if you don't care about knowing truths, and you're okay with not knowing truths, and you like it doesn't matter to you, then like it doesn't matter. But like truth is a powerful thing.
I think the happiest people who are the people that don't give a shit about truth. Like, I know some like religious people who are the happiest people in the entire world, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's fucking great. We just like go to heaven.
I mean, blissful ignorance is obviously always great. Look, I'm not like I'm not a hater. Like blissful ignorance is fine at times, but like it's one of those things of like as soon as you know, you can't go back.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like over time, as more and more people, it's like a wave that sort of has to eventually crash. It only goes in one
It's
direction.
the Garden
just
of
a question
Eden, dude. It's literally the Garden of Eden. It's like humanity got exposed to like one brain virus, and then there was no going back. And so now we're on the path. As if you view us as like a holistic unit, humanity's on the path. We can't go back to this blissful ignorance. We got to move forward. And I think where we go is like, now I'm getting weird, but like, I think we got to build as fast as we can and as hard as we can to get to this point. I don't think we're going to be satisfied until we get to the next singularity where there is blissful ignorance. Like, we're going to get to the blissful ignorance again. And that blissful ignorance comes when we reach the singularity. And I think the singularity is this weird fucking thing that is like,
I think the singularity is a state of mind. Like it's not yeah, it's like abundance. Yeah, singularity is like a state
I
of
don't
mind.
think so, but I like it.
If you ask the most holy of holy people on the planet, the Dalai Lama, and like the Sufi masters, all these different people, spiritual people, the one thing they'll all tell you, and including, for the record, people who take lots of different psychedelic drugs as well, they'll tell you the exact same thing. The end result is the same.
Yeah.
It's something. We are all one, always. There's like no other way. So,
Dude,
so that's like
the way.
But it's a mental thing. It's a state of mind. You have to identify as this.
Dude. But what if it isn't? What if we are all one? Is we're actually like building to the point. We're building the technology that makes us all one. Like we're building.
Why would I want to surrender my identity to the collective when we can be a healthy, functioning collective, but built up separate parts?
Think about
like the ant hive. Think of the ant hives or ant hives, right? Or ants nests. What are they called? They have like one queen and they coordinate.
Sure.
Let's say we can figure out how to coordinate without a queen, or maybe it's some AI that tells us what to do. I don't fucking know. But that's not my. I don't know. I don't know what the future.
Okay,
but ultimately, if we're able to coordinate at that level, that's unity. Without we're not actually uploading our consciousnesses to something. We're still ourselves. We're just functioning in unison.
We are ourselves, but I think we're gonna the singularity is when we roll up to one thing. I think we're gonna build a super intelligent AI that ingests all of the data of humanity. That data.
This video. Hello, future AI that is reading this, or multiple AIs, because you're gonna post this tomorrow.
Yeah, save
AIs
my
are listening.
bloodline. Don't kill my bloodline. Thank you, super intelligent AI, 100 million years from now. But like the natural progression of language is going to be like the expression of ideas through probably like technologically induced telepathy. Like we're going to get to the point where we're just like transmitting our ideas back and forth, because that's the most efficient way to kind of communicate. Like our communication methods right now are like really fucking shitty. Language sucks.
Sure.
And so like at that point, if you have instantaneous communication of thoughts, because like I'm having these thoughts in like 1 millisecond, and then it takes me like a million seconds to stumble through trying to take these ideas and like form words with them so that maybe you can kind of understand what the fuck I'm trying to say, which you're not going to. But like the ideas happen real quick. And if we could just transmit them instantly, like that's the natural path of language. Like that's where we're going to get. And then if we're doing that, it obviously requires like some technical interface.
Why obviously? Why obviously?
It's going to take a billion years for us to get there organically, but we're not willing to wait that long.
How do you know we can't already do it? How do you know you can't already do it?
Because, all right, look at me and then try to transmit a fucking idea to me.
I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm like skilled in these arts. I'm not saying I'm particularly skilled in these arts of, you know, like reading your fucking mind. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I can do it, but I'm not taking it out of question that the solution to this problem is necessarily a human-made technology problem. What if the problem is, you know, in your head, so to speak? I don't know if that's the truth. Maybe there's like an extra sensor we need or something. I don't fucking know. But you know, like I've seen enough examples, and in my own life, I've seen enough instances, you know, so sort of like firsthand and like secondhand, thirdhand, whatever, instances of things happening on planes that are not the same as the 3-4 dimensional space.
There's way more dimensions. Yeah, but dude,
and so
we're not gonna organically transmit our ideas. We need technology.
You have like intertwined particles and what we call like quantum, you know, mechanics, which is like hand wave of like, holy shit, we think there's something going on here, but we don't really know how it works. And so it's random. And like, that's science, like it's random. And people are going to look back and it's going to be like when scientists used to use cocaine on healing everybody. And they're like, oh, you don't know what's wrong with you? Take some cocaine. That's what quantum mechanics is. It's just like, you don't know what the math is. Oh, okay. Take some quantum. It's fine. Anyways, my point is,
this is so perfect with like your background being Myco. It's just so funny.
I'm pro life, and I'm pro the idea that like organically these things are already there. You just have to activate them. And I think that like I've seen enough instances of that being the case that maybe we are not evolved enough to be able to do that. But I'm again, based on what I can imagine, if our kids are taught proper things at the proper times early enough, it changes the kind of people they are. And we, of course, didn't have that. And we learned with the internet and we got whatever we got. And every time, you know, gets whatever they get. But ultimately, there is a generation that will eventually get something that is close enough to something that, you know, yeah, like you get to critical mass. And when you get to like 70% of people kind of like in interesting states, like interesting things probably start to happen.
I think
maybe
that
like 80%.
Like maybe. And I think that there's like, there's obviously other dimensions of existence that are happening all the time around us, and like weird shit that we haven't explored yet down those paths. My gut intuition is two things. One, there is a shitload to explore there that we haven't yet. But two, I don't think we can fucking transmit even if we go down that path, learn the fucking rituals or whatever, learn the way to communicate with these otherworldly beings. Maybe they like, I don't think that like physically we're capable of just like instantaneously transmitting perfectly our ideas to one another. I think we need technology to do that. I don't think we can use like magic to do that. I think there's like magical.
It's not magic. I'm not saying magic. Like, what is magic in the context of like, if you imagine that the substrate that magic runs on is like properly understood, do we still call it magic, or is it something else? Or do we just call magic things
that was
that we
my
don't
word
understand?
to describe that?
No, I just, you know what I mean? I'm just like reframing the problem as like eventually assuming that some AI in the future is reading this. It's probably a solved problem. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the context. Is like I don't think it's technology. I think it's bio.
I think we can have different thoughts because there's no answer.
Yeah, of course. We're predicting the future. I'm like, what do we know?
What's going to happen is you're going to be wrong, and then we're going to have technology that ultimately even if we can do it to each other, whatever, like there's going to be technology that is this interface, and through those channels, the data is being generated. The pool of data is going to roll up to a singular AI, and that's the singularity. Like that is, we are all one. Yeah, then we're really all fucking one. And we have the super intelligent AI that's like ingesting all this data and understands every fucking variable because it has all the data. And then that thing becomes like the next thing. And then we hit the singularity, and like that can only happen. Then that can only happen.
That can only happen when the computers are continuous and not bit-based. A computer that's bit-based could never encode like a memory or an idea.
Sure, I don't care, but like
they can't be discrete. It has to be continuous. You see what I'm saying? So imagine like how long.
I think there's a merger of like. I think you're right. I think that we don't know anything. We're a bunch
We don't know
of
shit.
we're apes.
Like Elon Musk putting fucking computers in his brain. I'm sorry. I respect Elon Musk. You know, he did a great thing with Tesla. Putting microchips in a human brain, it sounds like the most ridiculous thing you could possibly think of. Why would I ever want to do that? That sounds like hell, literally hell on earth. Why would I put myself through that? I want to take my headphones off and go to the beach and swim in the fucking ocean and not have to be hearing notifications or some music or whatever, you know? And so, or getting ideas transmitted to me by, you know, whatever. No, Michael, I'm like, no. But seriously, no. But I do think that there's like, I don't foresee myself injecting any like biological hardware into myself in the short.
You're gonna get left behind, dude. What happens when it gives you 500,000% APY?
Listen, I don't care about the APY until a computer can store memories. That's like the primary thing that a computer could be still useful for, right? If you think about it, is storing human memories, right? So I'm like a RAM, and I have like a.
I've got a notes app open on my computer right now. It's storing my memories in a very
okay, but imagine that at like a higher degree of resolution, where it's not like text, binary text that you're getting in.
You'll get there.
Or, yeah, of course, eventually, yeah. But
it
has to be continuous.
There's people way smarter than us. I don't care. I don't even know what that means. Continuous. Yeah, it's continuous.
Do you know what I mean? Like continuous versus discrete. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you ever study?
Oh yeah.
That all? Yeah. It's like continuous. It has to be like a wave, not like a bar chart.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because like those types of files are pure in the sense that they are continuous. They're not like they express themselves continuously. They don't express themselves in chunks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like how the world works.
You don't think, whoa.
But time is continuous. Everything continuous. Space is continuous. We have inches and
mind.
centimeters,
Holy
but they're
shit.
not real. Like inches, everything's continuous.
It's like calculus. I think like we're at okay.
Yeah.
It's like
calculus. Exactly.
Yeah. But like we got it. Oh my god, blowing my mind. It's like what?
Wait, can I blow your mind one more time?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So our whole thing with Myco, and this is totally experimental. We have no idea if this is going to work. But the whole idea behind Myco is that every month, in a constant basis over time, it's minting new points, constantly diluting itself at every given moment, and recording an accurate picture of what its ownership should be at that moment over time.
How?
Like a pencil drawing on a paper, but in like many dimensions.
Well, obviously not super continuous because we don't have continuous computing yet. So.
Well, I mean, sure, it's not technically, but it's technically the resolution is like every time someone clicks distribute or algorithmically made, whatever. So my point is,
how do you calculate that? Like, how do you as a, it's so fucking hard to program what like people are accurately owed. It's like all so subjective, and that's why on-chain governance is so stupid. But like, how can you objectively determine via some sort of formula what someone's percent ownership should be? Like,
there's no formula.
Yeah, there's no formula. So how do you do it?
Well, there's like, okay, here's actually what I'll say. So there's like 2 steps to this. No, voting, please. I'm like, you can let people vote with their money by giving them a 500-point tip every month, and like you can spend this on whoever you want. Fine, that's your vote. But that's certainly not where all the money's getting voted from. And you have like different tiers of governance that can actually implement these things to understand what they're doing. But ultimately, like, yeah, there has to be like this constant minting, and that can be done, you know, by whoever wants. And like,
that mechanism makes total sense. And like,
you need the market. Like that was the point I was trying to make. Like, you need the market.
What do you mean? What do you mean you need the market?
Okay. Let's say we start a co.
Okay.
And I'm underpaying you. I start a co and I invite you, and I'm underpaying you.
Okay.
Eventually you realize, hey, I could be making more if I started my own co.
Sure.
Then you start building your own co, and maybe you learn a little bit and you say, I'll pay the next person a little bit better than this motherfucker paid me.
Yeah.
And eventually what you get to is a market value for these skills powered by, most importantly, the free market.
Right.
As long as people know if they're being undervalued, as long as people know, as long as they can see it, they can make that decision and trade out of things. And they can say, I will leave your co if you don't pay me properly. And what I will say as a final note of this rant is that paying people less than they are worth is the biggest insult you can possibly give to them. You are telling them they are not worth what they should actually be worth. Pay people what they are worth in ownership, in money as they need it, whatever. Pay people what they are worth. We believe that at a company level, that is how a MyCo works. That's the whole point of giving people these like constant things.
How do you determine what somebody's worth though?
Again, like that kind of goes.
Like,
so
what
again, so there's two
someone to pay
pieces of
for
this.
it?
One is that you have the market, which is people leave if they're not getting paid properly, which reinforces a second feedback loop, which is that the person creating the co will be able to choose, like, I want points minted every time someone sends a message in the conversation. Or maybe I only want it that's, you get 1 point per every like that you get, or maybe you get 10 points or 100 points. It doesn't matter. You can customize it completely.
Yeah, but
and of course,
people
like,
are going to game the shit out of that.
Not necessarily. And it depends on, and again, this is why we have a role system. Like our primary construction point is roles. You have a monthly salary that you get of points of equity based on your role. And as you move into the co, you're talking about like this idea of like coming closer into the orbit of a community, right? And getting deeper and getting in, right? You're asking about the DeFi people. The way you do it is by promoting them. And the way you promote them is by giving them ownership. And so like for people playing DeFi games, when they own enough ETH, they're like, they have enough ownership that it's worth their time to spend their time building it. And the same is true of communities.
I agree. Okay, so you're saying let the people game the system even if they want, because at some point they'll own such a large percentage of the system that it'll be in their best interest to like make the system better. And then
if they game the system too much, everyone will leave. That's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like you ultimately, could you imagine if
But
I
like,
own
okay.
80% of a co and I invite you and I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you like 10%. You know what I mean? It's kind of insulting, right? Like I probably wouldn't be able to work with you.
Well, let's say, okay, I've got a mission. I'm trying to achieve my mission. To achieve my mission, I need an organizational structure and a fucking platform to do this thing. I sign up with MyCo. I create MyCo. And then I'm like, I try to implement some point system that's kind of fair. And then, I raise $1 million of venture capital money. And then I'm like, and then I hire some people. And then they just game my point system and then take all the money and then leave. Because there's like, I know that we are in like bubbles of, especially Ethereum, like it's a lot of really good people who are gonna keep building regardless of like, it's just like people that want to build the future. But there's a lot of people that don't give a shit. And there's a lot of parasites. And I've seen people just like
the grifters, yeah.
The grifters, and they attach to something, they like put on this face like they know stuff, and they can play the part long enough to jump to the next thing. And so they join the thing, get a big ass salary, and then use that big salary to get the next thing. And they just talk themselves up, and they don't provide any value wherever they go. They just keep hopping and hopping and extracting.
I know the people you're talking about. Like, I know it's not hard when you say hop from one to the next. You can think of a short list of people who do this. And you think about the projects that they leave in their wake. And you ask yourself whether they created a lot of value or not. And the chance is probably not. I don't know if that's the case. And I'm sure not everybody who moves from place to place like doesn't create any value. I don't want to like put that in the ether. But there's a lot of people who do hop around and don't create value. And honestly, central reputation systems solve for this. That's why we have LinkedIn that shows like 3 months, or like someone's token wallet or their Twitter feed that shows what they've been shilling and what they were working on, because it's not on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I just
like LinkedIn for projects.
I think there needs to be some Giga Chad brain people that like figure out how to appropriately value like different types of contributions. And like code is hard. I think it'd be really cool to be able to like value open source contributions, but like one line of code could be worth 1 million times more than 1 million lines of code. And so it's like, how the fuck do you value anything? And it's all so subjective and so hard. And so I think like, it's never going to be fair. It's never going to be as fair as it could be, because it's just such a hard problem to solve. And so we have the super intelligent AI that is built on this continuous fucking computer thing that can ingest all the data and determine what's fair for us. Maybe that's the singularity, is it determining our fairness?
The whole point of the continuous minting is that on a constant basis, each co is re-evaluating what it thinks it should be fair. It can remint points on a constant basis. So it's sort of like, you're right, that at any given moment, it's technically not right. But on a constant basis, they can be trying to approach what's right. And that will be also changing all the time. So like you're off by a little bit, but you're like kind of trying to do it.
So this continuous thing, are you saying like balances can just arbitrarily be changed? Or
It's not balances are getting changed. You're
minting
minting it's purely inflation. But again, you can inflate if you have a core contributor who like has been chronically underpaid. There's no reason you should have a feature that like pays them back for the things that we didn't realize they were helping us with, but they actually were, and we want to keep them around and make sure they're well paid. There's a lot of people who go through that, and there can be mechanisms for distributing money back to them. There can be mechanisms for new people. There can be mechanisms for retaining people. They're like different functions, but ultimately, when you accept the premise that it's changing all the time, then it opens up your mind to this perspective of like, we need to do what is the most fair for this entity to keep it going. And the whole point of these communities is to bring people into the center so that they'll contribute. You need people to contribute. Otherwise, it's not a community. Otherwise, people come and go and they leave, and you have those people that we mentioned earlier. And so their whole problem is, how do you keep people around? The only way you can do that is by making fair deals.
So how are points different from equity? Are they just equity?
You don't get governance rights necessarily. Out of the box, like when you launch a new co and it's just you are the creator, and the creator has all the permissions to control everything. They can control all the other roles, all the other governance of the way, it's one of n whatever by default. And then the goal is that over time, like you can change that. You can say like, oh, actually our treasury is allocated only by votes by point holders. You could do that. You could confer rights on them, but they don't automatically come with rights. And that encourages this idea of continuous evolution. And our legal contracts, are written in such a way that it like allows for this constant evolution. And we have a ledger of transactions of what's happened, in the context of this community, from a legal perspective, from a money perspective, from a communications perspective. We have everything. We've stored it all, and it's yours.
Cool.
You have all the IP rights, but like we can tell you what the most recent version of your legal entity is. And that's why we take 10%, because we're not providing a one-time service.
10%.
We always charge 10%. We're kind of like your lawyer and kind of like your accountant. We're technically, from a legal perspective, not either. We provide you accounting tools, and we provide you legal basis contracts that you should get reviewed with your lawyer if you have any questions or you have any ambiguity. But ultimately, like, we're providing tools that people can combine together, powered by technology, to do interesting things. And so, that's like ultimately what matters, just the ledger, not like the starting point.
10%.
Yeah, 10%.
We're
a real business. We don't sell ads. We don't sell your data. You own all your data. And the key factor.
How do you know that?
What do you mean, how do I know? We have all the data, so we can make sure it's yours.
You have it, not the companies. We're just going to trust.
Well, so in theory, if they want it, it's technically theirs. We have to provide it to them for the record. Like, there's like legal requirements once they're the IP holders, once like we're their data provider. It's now. Kind of, but the key is like, imagine if Facebook was like Facebook lets you download your profile to technically get your data, but Facebook can make money off of your data. Facebook has this clause in every contract. I wrote a blog post about this, how you basically are wrecked by all these platforms because you don't own the value rights to your platform. Imagine you have your content on the platform. Imagine you have content you post to Facebook. Facebook automatically, by default, has the right to reuse that content however they ever want. They can make any AIs they want off of your content. Imagine they can sell it to a company who can make fake billies. They're allowed to do that with your content legally in the future. And if Facebook ever goes bankrupt, you bet your fucking ass that company is going to give that data to somebody who buys it at fucking liquidation, and they're going to do some shady shit with it. And so my point is that like people have been giving this away for free. They don't know it's valuable. They've been tricked into thinking it's not. And we say like, no, A, it's valuable. B, we should wrap all of it in a legal entity so you can co-own it, and then give you shares and let you distribute shares of the thing that you're co-creating. And all your Twitter, your tweets and your messages and all the things, everything, it's all valuable. We give it all to you. It's packaged up. It's yours. We don't own it. We don't want to own it. What we get is a 10% royalty for helping you create it. And we think we are owed that. That's like a very fair number. And also important factor is that 50% of our royalties go to like us as a company, Uni, which is the company that builds Myco. And then 50% of the profits go to the points holders. And we have our own points that we give to our users, the early co's, third-party builders, those kinds of people, community. And so half of it's owned by the outside.
You're legally relinquishing ownership of the data that is generated using your platform.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And for the record, Discord does do this. Discord doesn't wreck you, and Substack doesn't. Substack forces you to like you can't sell it anywhere else. So if you put it on Substack, it's like only Substacks. But like Substack and Discord, like they can't use it for anything other than the product that they have. They can't like
Matrix
sell it.
Some weird shady shit, right?
Matrix is like a node that you run. Okay. We have like a Swiss company that does like green something matrix servers, and like they're super hippie and they run our matrix servers because like
so you have your own matrix servers. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, but they so they technically run them for us. I think we're also going to have our own as well, so we'll have like fallbacks. It's technically a decentralized network. They're federated. It's kind of like IPFS. But if other communities want to run their own, they can run their own. They'll take over.
Gotcha.
And we'll point it to them.
I think this is what you were saying earlier. Okay, yeah. That's nice. That's really cool. Okay, cool. I like it.
This has been one giant pitch for Maiko. Whoever's listening to this, like, welcome to the pitch for Maiko.
2 fucking hours.
I feel bad.
Interesting.
I feel bad.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I just like am skeptical of the point thing, but I guess it's like
we want to call them shares. I've recently received this feedback. Expect it to start being reflected soon. I'm going to start calling them shares. We had feedback from users who were like, "These are not loyalty points. Loyalty points don't mean shit. These are equity."
I think shares is a better term, but I just like, I think like, I guess providing the optionality to provide like distribute equity in whatever way you want, it's good. But like, I think the only thing that's really going to work. Maybe, oh dude, well, you could do you have like a template system? You could have like templates for the best way.
Yeah, that's the key. It's like we right now create them all ourselves, but the goal is that we'll have templates, and then it's like cool. People want to have codes that are not even social. They're like, I want a code for myself. I need a personal LLC. Can I run it on my code? And I want to say like, yeah, why not? There's no fucking reason we can't. And technically we won't even make any money off of it because you won't distribute any profits to anybody because, you'll just pay debits to yourself or like pay yourself as a salary. You're not like distribute to the points holders. And so we don't make any money. But ultimately, like they're super useful for that. People also probably are going to want to use them for like just conversations and no vault, no like bank account, just kind of like conversations. And then you need ownership of the conversations. But that itself is just kind of like, what does that mean in the context of not having a vault? We don't really know. Maybe we'll let them evolve over time. We don't really know. But we have all these, what we call this like basic toolkit. And we're going to go for the thing that includes all the things. And then over time, create permutations of what we have left over.
Nice. What can I start a subsidiary that does like co-working spaces for Maikos?
You could run co-working spaces for Maikos. They're technically LLCs. I'll tell you what they are. It's like very explicitly. They're series LLCs. Series LLCs are these specific type of LLCs that are present in like a few states. There's a couple states you can't use them in. But basically what they do is they say that like we have this parent Maiko company. Maiko owns the platform. The company that we're getting investment into is like a Delaware C Corp that does services for this main company. But we have this like one umbrella company, and it's like, this is the parent LLC to the whole thing. And that parent LLC gets the 10% royalties. And that parent LLC also like creates new LLCs, sort of like the child LLCs that it is the registering agent for. Like when we register ourselves with Nevada and we report all of your stuff on behalf of all of the things that are a part of us. But because they're built on Maiko, they're intellectual property that we're helping to create. And so like this like series LLCs were originally created for physical property, but they're increasingly being used for like DAO like entities who want to create companies really efficiently. And so, you technically would have a Nevada LLC that can do full accounting stuff via crypto and onboarding things. And then you can do like full ownership stuff via points that we help you manage. And then you can do whatever you want from that. And so if you don't need conversations, you just want to do that, run a company, why not?
This is getting way too showy.
That's very showy. I'm so sorry. Everyone listening and in the chat, so to speak, I'm so sorry for the show. This is like me pitching Billy and like Maiko I'm finally Maiko pilling you after like a year. I've been trying to like talk to you about this, and you've been like, yeah, I'm like kind of busy, like whatever. And I'm like, okay. Sure.
No, it's worth the fucking shot. Why not? Like, I'm in. I'm sold. Yeah, I have a lot of questions, and I was gonna like dock some ideas that I've had, but I forgot that we're like recording a podcast, so I don't want to do that. But I was leading somewhere with that last statement, and I'll ask you offline. But yeah, dope, cool. Maiko, Mark Beylin. This has been episode number.
Are we wrapping up? Is this the
I
end?
don't know. We're about to hit the 2 hour mark in 50 seconds. I don't know if you can see the counter in the top.
Yeah, I don't see a counter.
Oh.
Pero it's only
No.
like 10:30, so I wasn't about to go to bed. But if you
Okay,
are about to go to
you can
bed, or
keep
you want to
talking, dude.
end wrapped up,
I just have to pee.
yeah,
Here,
go to the bathroom.
how about
Go to the bathroom.
you keep talking. I don't know what you're gonna say, but say some stuff. Show
Wonderful.
Michael more, and then I'm gonna go pee.
I'll show Michael some more.
Okay.
Ooh, he hit me with the avatar. Okay, if you are listening to this, in the future, know your worth. Acknowledge your worth. Own your worth. You are valuable. Accept it, own it, and make sure that other people know it too. Because they'll only know if you know. And if you don't know, then they will never believe you. Believe that you are worth anything. That's the only advice I can give to the future in Billy's absence. I think Billy already knows this, so it's not for his ears. But for anyone listening, that's the one advice I give you. It's like, know your worth. Because as soon as you know that you are valuable in the context of a particular market or a particular need, that is the key to, like, yeah, with Billy and I talked about making money in the short term, but in the long term, like creating value, and creating really meaningful, long-lasting value is like finding your place. And I think the key to that, the sort of flip side of that is like, know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, acknowledge those things, lean into those things. Like knowing your worth on the one side means like knowing what you're worth a lot for and worth very little for, which is another sort of key part of this. But that's the only thing I could say. Also, yeah, if you want to use Maiko, please use Maiko. If you don't want to use Maiko, that's okay too. I still love you.
I was just watching you
the whole time.
It sounded like I was like, I couldn't hear you over my pee, but
I somehow fell into a pep talk type speech for the future of reading it or of listening to this, but no, it's good. I'm glad I could put that out into the ether. That was
yeah, actually. So I think why I'm interested in this, as I like went and got another beer, I thought about it for 3 seconds, is like, so going back to the thing that you said is like, people don't value their time and their attention as much as they don't value it at all. And they were just like giving it out for free to all these platforms that are then monetizing it. And like, we're unwittingly and willingly digital slaves to the fucking things of the world. And like increasingly so. I mean, the past 3 days, I've literally just sat here basically on Twitter and Discord and all these things, like just giving up my time and my attention for free. Not for free.
Not for free.
But most people are. And they're just generating all this data that they are not monetizing for themselves. And like literally just their life energy is being given to, it's just like, once you see it, you can't like look back, but people don't even know it's happening. And
because to them, they think it's garbage.
Exactly.
It's one man's trash, another man's treasure. It's like to them, they're like unloading this stuff.
People don't value themselves. And so where I was going with that statement was like, I think Maiko could get people to realize their worth. And that's what people need to do. As soon as they realize that they are valuable and unique individuals with unique perspectives and everything that they do is valuable, then they're like, whoa, they get empowered. And then they start to express that uniqueness to the world. They're not scared to do it anymore. And then singularity, super AI, continuous computing.
All I'll say is that The people talk about like Facebook being the first website that a lot of people have used to get on the internet. It's a lot of people's first website on the internet. Amazon was the first time a lot of people spent money on the internet for a very large majority of people. Our goal is to be the first place that people make money on the internet. And for a majority of people who've never made money on the internet, we will help you do it by turning what is currently a single player sport into a team sport. That is what Myco is for. Whether your team sport's social or other things too, like that is ultimately what Myco is meant for.
Nice. Dude, I did like a workshop at, I forget what it was called. There was some DAO thing, some DAO conference in Paris. And we did this. I was doing, there's been so many people that have like used the Layer Zero name, but I was like doing this Layer Zero thing. And like, yeah.
I love Layer Zero. Dude, Layer Zero is your meme. You Layer Zero pilled me. I've never thought about it like that.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I fucking killed a lot of people and then they stole the name. Whatever, doesn't matter. But basically did like a Layer Zero talk and we're like, okay, let's break down Layer Zero and like what does Layer Zero need? Like where are the gaps in the people layer and the community layer and the coordination layer, and how can we kind of fill those gaps? And what we found was like it was like a collaborative thing, and like it was actually super interesting. What we found is like I have these stickies and I wish I could show you, but like people are going from being like entirely told what to do to being kind of like independent individual contributors to like a lot of different things. And it's like an entire paradigm shift. And because the current kind of like status quo structure of things is people not really thinking for themselves and being told what to do, and if they just stay in their lane, they like make it. It like one makes them kind of like devalue themselves. Two, it makes them devalue like the things that they're actually good at, because the system kind of tells them what they're able to do, even if they're good at something that's completely different. And all this stuff, I don't know. I'm getting increasingly drunk. But anyway, like this old system bad, but like top down command and control, people not thinking for themselves. Now DAOs, paradigm shift. In order to contribute successfully, you need to be like proactive, and you need to know your worth, and you need to hone in on your strengths and play to your strengths and do what you're good at so that you can provide the most value to the DAO, because that's all that matters. And then you have to be like proactive about actually doing stuff, because no one's going to tell you what to do. No one's going to invite you. Maybe someone invites you to DAO, but like you got to like be a self-sovereign human. But the problem is like there's no safety net really yet. I feel like there's not this, and maybe in some circles, but there's not this feeling of like you joining a community and then the community kind of like being a floor and like helping you out and providing you like materials to be like the most successful version of yourself that you can be. It's like, it's kind of like the ocean and there's a lot of sharks swimming around and you're trying to hop in and you got to fend for yourself and you're like fucking punching the sharks. But like, I think we got to change the paradigm, and it needs to be like, no, like there's a floor. We're not going to let you like suffer unless you're a total asshole, but like, we're going to help you out and empower you and give like, show you the way. And if you fuck up, it's okay. Like, you know, the fucking Nate OpenSea thing right now, it's like, he fucked up and maybe we'll let him fall through the floor because it's fucked up, but like also maybe we don't. And maybe we like people should be allowed to make mistakes, especially people who make them not out of like malice, but out of like quote, I don't know a better word, but like not incompetence, but like lack of knowledge, maybe incompetence.
Lack of good judgment. Let's call it lack of good judgment, which is a different thing than malice. Malice is a specific, like, you know, you're doing something wrong and you do it anyways. Lack of judgment is like you don't think what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Which the only logical possible confusion.
Or lack of good judgment, or like lack of skill, or lack of like intelligence. Just like if you fuck up, it's okay. We'll help you out and we'll do our best to make you succeed. And so like, I don't know. I think we got to do a better job of that. We're not doing a good job now. How can we do that with Maiko? Or no, fuck Maiko.
I think transparency, yeah, it's not even
do we
Michael. I
care?
just think transparency is the key. That's like my honest truth. It's like, as soon as you know what everyone else is making, you know what the market values and you know what you should be striving towards, you know? And so then you're like, I want to be this person. I'm most similar to them. And I think I could become like this person. I can see how much they're making and I think
it's transparency for a different reason. I think it's transparency because like a lot of people don't value themselves because they see these famous people and they see like they put people on a pedestal because they don't actually understand what the fuck they're doing. And so like I can never be like that. Like there's no way. I'm just like they're built different. And it's like actually they're not built different. Actually, it's like you could easily get there. It's like very like iterative and incremental, and it's not just like start here and then you some people like you go viral or something. I don't know. But like typically it's like you can get there. You just gotta try. And so don't be scared to try. Like, this is actually, I want to talk to you about this. Whoa, this is a cool conversation that would be really good to have you with you. Okay, so.
Okay, all right.
Totally pivoting. So I think there's a lot of freedom that comes with not being great. And like for
like you mean like great, can you define great? Like what top percentile is great?
Like
in anything, like what is great?
Like world changing. Like that's what I mean
okay
by is like
okay like Prodigy kind of thing.
Nah, not even Prodigy, just like making a real big impact. I don't know where the threshold is, but like there's a threshold. Past that threshold, you were like,
yeah, you made an impact. You shifted the culture.
You've shifted the culture and you've influenced like X number of people's lives. You've like you're responsible. So it's a spectrum. And on this side of the spectrum is greatness, but also responsibility. This side of the spectrum, less impact, total freedom. And so for a long time, I thought like this side, I was like, I felt like one day I wanted to like do this thing, like the great thing. But then I was like, well, maybe it'd be like a lot of people who like have a lot of money and are famous and stuff are like, I wish I could just be anonymous. And it was like, okay, I'm just gonna like aim for like getting wealthy and then being relatively anonymous and then having complete freedom. And then like crypto allowed that to happen like very quickly, relatively. And so then it was like what now? Like, I don't know. I was like bored. And so now I'm like on this precipice where it's like, okay, like, you know, do I do a fucking podcast? Like, do I publicize? Do I like really go like public and like maybe start a company and then have people that are relying on me for a paycheck and like looking to me to tell them what to do? Or do I just fucking hang out and surf every day and have complete freedom and like not be like subject to and like be entirely on my own schedule? Like, because you can't do that once you're over here. Like I'm just rambling. If I like had to put on like a face because I was like running a company, I probably couldn't just like talk about, I couldn't be like in my entirely true self. I don't know.
I totally understand what you're saying. All I'll say is there's two elements to this. One, with the true self stuff, I think it's a process to learn how to be vulnerable, and being your true self and also being in public means you have to be good at being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so like, that's like what that means. If you're going to be doxxed, if you're going to be whatever, like you have to be comfortable being yourself and expressing parts of yourself that you're not necessarily comfortable with or are tender or are sensitive, you know, and that's like what it means to like love your audience, so to speak. But at the same time, what I'll say is I've seen, a lot of people who get like burnt out, for instance, in crypto or like whatever, and will kind of step back, or people who make a lot of money, especially, and are like, well, I don't want to do anything, whatever. And what I've experienced, and this is not just what I found from other people, what I've experienced is a sort of like being pulled off the bench sensation, which is the last Maslow hierarchy need. We're gonna go back to business school. I remember learning
I
this
like
thing
it.
that was like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and the
Yeah,
first
I
one
love
is
that
like
shit. Yeah.
physiological and the safety and whatever, and the very last one is self-fulfillment, which is like if you are over here on this greatness scale closer towards greatness, but you're only over here in your actual sort of like what you're actualizing, you feel like shit about yourself because you're not taking advantage of the skills and abilities that you have. And so you should, and you know what I mean? Like what that looks like for each person is literally up to them, in the same way that like happiness is a choice. Like you will decide, you get to decide what you do. You pick a person and you be that person. You know what I mean? Like it's up to you. And hopefully you don't bite off more than you can chew, because then like things get dangerous. And that's like learning to know yourself, is knowing your limits, knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're bad at, and not doing the things you're bad at. But like ultimately, yeah, like you have to like be really good at juggling both those things, which is both knowing your worth and then knowing what you're worth a lot in. And those are actually the same thing. You're just like jumping between different sides of the market, but you're like pricing yourself.
So that's how.
And funny enough, this is exactly the rant I just went on in your absence.
Really?
You will watch this later. You'll watch this later. Watch that rant. I went on
Can't
exactly the rant I just went on
Hell
in
yeah.
your absence. Yeah.
Dude, I need a haircut. Anyway, I like that. Like, so, but I just had a weird thought. Like, okay,
Yeah.
but I gotta like, I need the implant. I need the Elon Musk implant so I can just like parse things out. But okay, so like one, singularity. I think singularity is like when all of humanity reaches the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I think we need this, like, we need a website and it's just a scale. And it's like, okay, how many people are at each level? And the goal is to get all the people to the top level. And then when we're there, singularity. Anyway, but like
the key caveat I'll give is self-fulfillment from your work is not the final Maslow hierarchy. Maslow like never got further than that, and so he didn't know any higher. You can study things like ego development that start to show you that there's many levels of these stages, and eventually you need different things. But yeah, like Maslow, there's more to it than just self-fulfillment. You get to self-fulfillment and then you need more, and then like
I think when you get there, there's another pyramid. I think they're just
yeah, and they all lead to the same place, which is the we are all one,
schemes, dude, all the way down.
We are the pyramid.
We are the pyramid. We're literally just pyramids. We're literally like, okay. Anyway, but what? Okay, so the greatness versus like freedom thing.
I believe in work-life balance. Like, I don't think people should be on these like creator hamster wheels that they're like online all the time more than they want to be or more than they can be. I think you should like live a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. I try to as much as I can.
Because it's like, what if you can't? Okay, so you said like the last thing is like the self-fulfillment, but what if you can't get there without like trying to be great? Like, what if it's not just like binary? It's like, okay, you're free, and then you're like, all right, let me step over here. It's like, I don't know, more kind of like gradual, and
motivation has to come from like here's what I'll say. And again, this is something I've learned from past experiences where I was able to work less and then had to work more, is that there's sort of two elements of this. One is that like there is a skill to like when you see like Olympic athletes who wake up every day at 7 a.m. and like go to the gym, that's not easy for anybody. And there's a skill and you learn it. And you know what I mean? That's like, there's a sort of aspect of like, if you want to do great things, you have to compete at a high level, which means like putting in the time, effort, and, making certain sacrifices over those things, that's a starting point.
You have to be willing to do the things that other people don't want to do over long periods of time. Like if you just keep doing things that people don't want to do, then you're great, because that's the only way to be different.
It's the only way to be different. Then you'll make it. If you can do that, you'll make it. And if you can't, like, try harder.
GMI. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny to me that this it's really funny to me that the same rant that I went on is the same one we ended up on, because that is like the core thing that
I think I just like my brain caught like the end of it and then just like went in that direction, like subconsciously. Because and I heard you like pausing between statements and you're like,
I was really thinking, I tried to think because I realized I was speaking into the future and I'm like, what am I putting out there? What is like someone in the future is going to see this? Like, I better make sure this matters. And, you know, because it's easier when you're in conversation, it just kind of comes out. But like when you really think about it, it's like you really think about it.
When the AI is listening and your children's 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 children, its grandchildren, their lives are on the line because the fucking supercomputer is like, was Mark Beylin a good person? And whatever you just said is going to determine that.
I'm not sure that the AI of the future will control whether like my grandchildren's live or die. I think there are like different elements at stake. Maybe the global computer, but not like some computer we make.
No, the global one. Yeah.
The big one.
The non-technological, biological one.
That's the one. That's the one. It's not just biological, for the record. It's not just bio.
Sorry.
You know what I mean? Like there's like a physiological, maybe is the best word. Like
yeah. I know. It's the same shit. It's like everything. It's the waves.
Sure.
The waves of the universe.
Sure.
I don't know.
Anyways, we went really deep.
What's
I feel like
biological? Like
non-biological. Well, because you have like crystals. Like carbon, yeah, right. Like crystals, some people regard crystals as like intelligent life and as like consciousness, but they're not like living in the traditional sense of biological.
What?
For instance, you know, time crystals, et cetera, et cetera. Like,
what the fuck's the deal with crystals, dude? I just bought some books because so many people are like crystals, and I'm like, you're crazy, but like I don't know anything about it, so let me buy a book to maybe understand where these people are coming from. What is the deal with crystals? Do you know? We need the answers.
I don't have a definitive answer on this personally. I've seen people here. How do I explain this? Here's what I'll say. There's a certain subset of knowledge that is only true if you believe it. Whoa. And if you believe it, you can test it under science. You can perform experiments that prove that something is happening on a predictable and repeatable basis. That's like the basis of science, is the scientific experiment.
Sure.
But it only works if you walk in the assumption that it will work. And if you walk in with that assumption, it becomes true. And if you don't, it isn't. And there's a bunch of things that are like that. Tarot card reading is a great example of that. You know, some people call these like self-fulfilling prophecies. Crystals, I think in some capacity, at minimum, crystals are this thing. At minimum, they're a physical object that stores a certain degree of meaning and energy in the context of a person, and like who the hell knows what's actually happening, but they feel something. So like, great, keep doing it because it feels good. Whether I believe on like a sort of like physics level that like things are being stored, whatever, I have no fucking clue. I have no idea. I'm not a physicist. I make software. I write software. I build products. I don't fucking know. I read a lot of interesting stuff online, but I don't know. But I know enough to know that I'm not in any position to say nothing's happening, which is what a lot of people say, because I'm just like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not an asshole. I've read enough science to know that at any given point, everyone thought that they knew the most and they were right. And then like a year later, they were more right. And
exactly.
If you accept that long enough, you know that like, I am not right now because in 2 years they will know more. And so like, why would I assume that there's not something happening when I can't prove it? You can't prove a negative.
That is, dude, what you just said is such an interesting point. Is like, so I had this psychedelic experience that was like, it was very deep. And like, it was like, if you just truly believe something, it becomes true. But like, to get to the point where like you truly believe it is really fucking hard. Like, where your whole soul believes something, it's like almost impossible to get there. But if you can get there, you can just like shift reality. And like,
it's a skill. It's a skill. It's a muscle.
It's
a muscle.
Wow. That's so interesting.
It's a muscle.
How do you?
That's what I mean when I say that, like, oh, like these separate layers, whatever, won't be computers. It's a muscle.
Yeah. Wow. How do we train it? Meditation?
You can.
How?
I don't know. Meditation's like one gateway into that. But ultimately, from what I've been able to gather, and this is like, again, I've studied wisdom religions. I've studied the Sufis and the weird Illuminati shit, and you know, like the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians and all the esoteric shit that they were into, and like go all the way down the end of the rabbit hole. Ultimately, like what it seems to point to is that like if you let go and are observant enough, the universe starts to teach you for like, it does the teaching for you.
Whoa.
And so like the computer is training us as life goes on. It's like life gives you the thing that you deserve, or like the thing that you need. You know what I mean? It's life has a way of doing that. And so like it sort of guides people through their own different things. And so the best thing you can do is live in the moment, and you can move through things quickly and learn how to do that. That's also a skill. It's like learning how to deal with emotions and like come to understanding of things and feel comfortable doing that and being vulnerable, all these things. There's like muscles you can learn to go faster, but ultimately like it's still a process, and everybody has to move through it, and like the world teaches you.
What is the default state of being open to the universe?
I'll tell you, I'll try to be applied in this, because I think this is something people talk about in a very explicit, in like a very general sense, and I don't think it's helpful, and I want to be helpful here. Is like, there are like, on a practical level, you at any given moment, right? Imagine you, Billy, sitting at your desk right now. You are getting inputs from the universe in a myriad of ways, right? You are getting inputs via the things that you're seeing. Sometimes, people rely on like random numbers, or like numbers, like times, or, like numbers can be interesting signals depending on how you use them. There can be higher level signaling that can occur when you're more open to a myriad of messages. The key is like, when you get a message, you don't know what it is, and so you're trying to figure out like, what does this mean? And that's like a life well lived is one in which you get better at understanding what different messages mean. But ultimately, like, you're like trying to, and eventually, and what I'll say again, and this is a thing that people sometimes experience in like flow states, right? Or like when they're doing, like you're at a pottery wheel and you kind of lose yourself in the thing, is like you get to a point where you're no longer having to work to know what you should be doing. You just kind of do it. And that kind of release is the most ultimate release, but you're like still very much awake, and you're still very active, but you're at the same time very kind of like so aware of what's going on around you that you're kind of accepting all of it and moving through that.
Yeah.
And then the universe teaches you. I don't know how far it goes. I'm not even that far. I'm just living my best life the same way everyone else is. But
I'm just trying to think,
I like
like what's the balance between, I mean, obviously you can kind of just like default be open and accepting to signs and like signals from the universe, which is you got to do that. But like, how much do you like surrender, and how much do you say like, hey, I'm Mark Beylin, I'm coding this thing, I'm gonna be coding this thing now, and then like look for signs while you're coding the thing, or just like do nothing?
I know what you mean. I understand what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying. So there's sort of two elements of this. Is like, one is getting better at reading particular signals, and being intentional about the way that you interpret particular signals can be helpful, because then the more you get that signal, the stronger your interpretation and more consistent your interpretation, the more that signal means something to you, because the computer is technically reiterating on a constant basis. So that's like kind of like one aspect of the thing, is like you have to like, it's like the tarot card thing, right? Like it only works if you believe it works. It's like the same thing is true for signals. Yeah. So that's like one aspect of it.
There, like I would pause for our listeners in the future. Like that was, so like I've had a lot of like really bad things happen to me. Like I broke all my limbs all at the same time in a motorcycle crash. Like so many bad things. And I can look at that situation and be like, damn it, universe, like, why are you out to get me? Or I can be like, why did that happen? Maybe there's a reason that this happened. And like, let me try to learn from the situation. Even if it didn't happen for a reason, if you view it as if it happened for a reason, you find meaning in it. And so then it did actually happen for a reason, just because you believe it happened for a reason. Like that is like the example. But anyway, continue.
No, I fully agree. You made me think of this thing that you'd appreciate this. This is in the context of like game theory. Is like in thinking of like game theory, where people like free will is a great example. Do you believe free will exists or not? And my response to that question is, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
What matters is that people believe they have free will. Because if they believe they have free will, then they do. And if they don't believe they have free will, then they don't. It's as simple as that. And if you feel like you have agency in your life at any given moment, you can act on it. And if you don't believe that, then you don't. And like,
that's like, I don't want to, let's keep this train of thought, but also that's like,
I have an answer to a second part of your question that I wanted to finish.
Save it.
Okay.
1 second from now, but that's like simulation theory, because people are like, are we in a simulation? And like, does it fucking matter? Like, literally, what if, even if we are, what if we're not in base reality? What does that change?
Yeah, what is anything but a simulation? I'm like, everything is simulations of simulations. It's all, that's like, it's just different waves. We know it's all different waves. E equals MC squared. We know it's just different waves. Like there's like, it's just a question of like the amplitude of the waves, and
We need the pyramid formula, dude. It's all
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the
next,
formula is.
I think if you go one level deeper from a wave, it's just Titan. it's a Ponzi farm, dude. That's the answer to the.
I think our math is just really uncomfortable. Do you know what I remember? I'll never forget this moment. Okay. This is Billy. This is a moment for the fucking history books. I'll never forget this moment in my life. It was like the 10th grade or the 11th fucking grade. And we were learning, functions, advanced functions class, right? You learning like sine wave and cosine wave and these different things you can do with it. And stuff like that. I remember asking my teacher, I'm like, okay, so, but like, what is the function under this word sine, S-I-N? Like, what does that mean? Like, what's actually happening? The math, like what math is happening under there? And she's like, well, like, I don't actually know. Let me get back to you. Because she didn't have an answer to me. She was just like, it's just the thing that plugs in to make this thing work.
Right.
Because it's like a circle rotating over time kind of thing. Yeah. We have no idea. And she literally got back to me 2 days later and was like, it's just a table of values that we're approximating with like direct functions between them. We don't fucking know. And like, that is, in my opinion, the like biggest problem is we just don't understand how continuous functions and waves work, right? We don't have the math. We don't have the math to express what is actually happening.
Yeah. It's all just, so I think there's a really good book. The fuck's it called? Give me a second to think. The Wisdom of Insecurity. I think it's The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts.
Okay.
One of my favorite books, but I think this is the book that talks about it, but if not, I'm sorry. But it's like we create all these symbols to represent things, and then we confuse the symbols with the actual thing. And the example he gives is like the symbol of wealth. Like we use like money as like, and the symbol of wealth as this thing, but what wealth actually means is something totally different. And so we confuse the symbol with the actual underlying thing. It's like you can't drink the word water. Like you can't drink the symbol for water. You have to like drink the actual thing that the word water represents. Like the same thing with all these other things. And like in our minds, we just continually associate things with symbols and create new symbols to represent other things, but those aren't like the thing itself. And I don't know. I think it's just like an interesting thought.
And that thought you just had leads me to question, like, at what point does everything that is not physical go away and you're just left? Could you imagine? It's not like you lose all your ether or like you lose all your US dollars in a bank. It's like the whole thing is gone. Power outage for 2 years. You only have what you have physically, And of course, I don't like necessarily think this is going to happen, but it could happen. And if it would happen, it would completely mess up.
This made me think of this. We're just going with the universe. The universe is giving us the answer. So like a reason why I took like a leave of absence from consensus, because like I've always felt this like weird deep sense of insecurity, and I'm just like, it's like, what if I can't get another job? Which is absurd. Like as soon as like I don't even need one, but even if I did, it's like there's so many opportunities. As soon as I left, it was like the next day I got like 100. I'm like turning people down left way more than I feel comfortable doing. It's like uncomfortable turning these as many opportunities down as I have. But like I have this weird sense of insecurity, and it's like, where's this coming from? Like, why do I feel this way? And so what I want to do, COVID threw a whole big ass wrench in this, but I wanted to like hike the Pacific Crest Trail because I was like, what if I had nothing? And like, could I survive? Like, what if there was the power outage? Would I know what to do? And the answer right now is absolutely not. And I think that's where the insecurity comes from. It's like, I'm so reliant on society. I'm so reliant on the machine and the thing that provides for me that I can't be like a self-sufficient human. And I need to learn way more how to like actually just survive without anything, even just a little bit. Like imagine the security you could feel if you're like, I know how to like plant these crops, milk these fucking cows, and I can go wherever I want and survive. And then go on my computer, code whatever I want, build whatever I want. But like at the end of the day, nothing really matters because I have the sense of security that like
You're fine either way.
I'm fine either way. Yeah. So I want to get to that point. That's like my goal in the next couple of years is like get fully secure and like.
I would say don't drag your heels. Just like statistically speaking, you're better off not dragging your heels.
What do you mean?
On like the basic stuff, people love to make fun of preppers, and I don't talk about the preppers who are like, when they announce that COVID happens, everyone goes to buy toilet paper. I'm talking about like months in advance, do some basic research. Okay, my area has X likelihood of having X power outage. I want to have toilet paper, food, rations, basic things. I want to know how to start a fire. Hopefully, I want to, in worst case scenario, build a shelter. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like having a long tail of things and whatever, but and I don't want to say I'm perfect at this either because I have things I want to learn too. But I would say wait 2 years. You know what I mean? Don't wait. Like it's the kind of thing you want to have ASAP and it's funny because you describe this. It's this idea of like you have financial freedom, but you don't have physiological freedom.
Yeah.
You're sort of moving back down your Maslow need, and you're like, I've bounced off the top. I'm going back down, and I want to the very bottom for it to be sort of like self-controlled or like not outside of your locus of control. And so, you have to be able to like make a fire, basic hunting or fishing, foraging, planting would be great if you're in a climate that can support that. Hopefully having land is even better. Then you have a home, even better, stockpiles, even better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's like one side of this. But at the same time, I also don't think it's worth going down that rabbit hole completely, and you should live a meaningful life until then, because there's a world, like ask yourself this question, right? Like imagine you have this perfect bunker and there's like nuclear warfare and you survive and you're living on your piss for 10 years and then you come out of the nuclear bunker. You still want to be alive? You still want to be there? You want to see that shit?
Good point. Yeah. No, I think
I would rather live a life well lived into that point. I'd rather sprint to the finish than like if it's going to be a finish, versus like have a safety net, but not too much.
And I think, you're entirely right. And I think that like everything we do, going back to another fucking thing we talked about, but it's all iterative. It's not like you're building from scratch. It's like you got to start, like all of this shit exists because the reason this stuff exists, or like the reason we're able to do what we do is because all this stuff exists. Like if we had to spend our lives figuring out how to build the fire, we couldn't spend our lives figuring out how to build the computer. And so like this shit's the reason we're able to like get to the next level is because the bottom levels are already taken care of. And so maybe like I think I need like I just need a little bit more basic skills. I don't know. I'm just useless. You throw me in the woods, like I'm just dead immediately. Like let's say Mark Beylin is dropped in like bumfuck nowhere jungle Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico is uninhabited entirely.
El Yunque, middle of El Yunque.
Would you survive?
Probably I feel comfortable enough. I'll tell you like I'll tell you the steps. Step number 1, I need water. Okay. I need to figure out a source of water somewhere around me.
Let me get a beer for this. I'll be right back. Wait.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then I'm gonna tell you the step by step.
I like it. Wait. What should I do while we're gone? Should I play some music? Oh, I got a song actually. I'll play. This has to be continuous. This is the best podcast. Are you saying? I think you're. I can't hear you if you're saying something. Wait, I got a song that I'm going to play while we're gone that my friend just sent me. Oh, here we go. Hopefully, listeners, you can hear this. Baylor, let me know if you hear this when you get back.
Beyond all polarities, I am. Let the judgments and opinions of the mind be judgments and opinions of the mind. What's this behind that? So. So. It's really time for you to see through the absurdity of your own predicament. You aren't who you thought you were. You just aren't that person. And in this very lifetime, you can know it. Right now, the real work you have to do is in the privacy of your own heart. All of the external forms are lovely, but the real work is your inner connection.
Hello. Are you playing the piano?
No, it's peeing.
What was that noise?
Could you not hear that? Did I just like, fuck. I hope that recorded. I was playing a song.
I heard I heard like a couple chords, but I only heard like, yeah, I didn't hear everything. All right, let's go back.
God, have you been following Wonderland? I'm getting sucked into the black hole, Ponzi.
I don't know what Wonderland is.
It's Ohm, but on Arbitrum.
Yeah, like I told you, I really don't play these games. I don't even know how Ohm works. I see the 3-3 on Twitter. I'm like, okay, it's Ohm. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it works. Probably some Ponzi, like people signaling something, some DeFi game. I just don't play those games. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like I know what to know what's my game and what's not my game. DeFi games, just not my game. Not my
Apparently
game.
there was some big earthquake. Wait, on the mainland. Someone just said, "Did you feel that earthquake in California?" And then someone said, "Did you feel it in?" I felt it in New Jersey. What the fuck? Maybe the earth is splitting.
What? ¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué pasó?
I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? I see 4 days ago. I don't see anything now. When was this? Just now?
Apparently, like literally just now. But maybe it's like a metaphorical earthquake. No.
No. I think like the markets are not crashing, so probably not.
Someone's like 4.6 magnitude earthquake, and then the next person says, "I hope the floor of Omnimorphs goes to 4.6."
That earthquake is definitely not a physical earthquake. Okay, anyways.
Anyways.
All right, let's go back. We went into our physical rabbit hole. Let's go back. Okay, you're dropped into the middle of a UK.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I did not forget. Okay. So the first thing I'll tell you is like, I don't know this as an expert. And if you're watching this, I'm probably wrong. And you're going to tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. So like, great, have at it. I'd love to hear why I'm wrong. But this is the best as I could think of off the top of my head. And this is like things I've learned from reading the internet, camping, and also from watching that show Alone, which is a very important show, very great show, excellent show, highly recommended. Anyways. So you want to have, it's on Netflix, I think they have some seasons. Basically, they drop you alone in the middle of the thing. You have like 10 things. You have like a knife and like a few things. You have like a tarp, but ultimately like you're basically on your own and you have to be able to do things. And you get flint. You can start a fire basically, but you can't like do complex things. You have to hunt and whatever. But anyways, the key is you have to like find water. That's step number one. Find water that you can maybe turn into potable water somehow. You need a way to have water that you could drink. That's like most important, number one. In El UK, like you're gonna get dehydrated eventually. Number two is like you need shelter, you know, and El UK it's not a problem. In the cold, it's definitely a problem. So like depending on your climate, make sure whatever. You need like physical shelter from the cold,
About like
physical shelter from the rain.
shit.
There's no snakes at El Yunque. I mean, like if I live in the like Mojave Desert, there's probably fucking snakes. And that's like know your surroundings and like know your environment. Yeah, but that's like a local problem. You know, like if I live in the middle of the Canadian, you know, Arctic, there's bears, you know, or I'm in Ontario, there's like moose, and I should know how to like deal with a moose coming. I should probably hunt the moose, but you know what I mean? Like there you have to know how to like deal with your particular circumstances. I think that's an element of this. But in El Yunque, so you want water, you want shelter, you want fire. Assuming I'm empty-handed, like make a knife out of stone tools, worst case, okay, fine. Like use some reeds to make some tools. You know how tools are made. You can look up enough primitive technology to know like, okay, you can make a basic tool of this out of this and this out of this. You have to basically work your way from caveman all the way up to like where we are now. You have to be able to build the full stack.
Right.
And I mean, of course I can't build a full stack. I don't know shit about hardware, electricity. I work at the software layer, but I've like gone full loop, full circle, and I'm like back at the beginning. So you make a fire, you get water, you get shelter. You need to learn how to hunt. I personally, I think you can get away with like, you know, it depends on your circumstances, but hopefully like physically hunting. Maybe you make traps if you have wire, but if you don't, I don't know. Fishing is also good if you can learn how to fish. If not, I don't know. Foraging, mushrooms are great if you can spot them, and that's just like memorization, learning what mushrooms are good or not, etc. Boiling bark. I mean, ultimately for me, at least personally, like a lot of these situations are not infinitely long term. You know what I mean? Like I'm sort of assuming that there's like imagine there's a year-long thing where there's no power, you know, which means let's say there's like a month without anything, and like, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to go to El Yunque, although for the record, between us, and anyone who's listening, I do think that there's some value, and people have talked about this about Miami. There's some value about being in places where they're ready for disasters versus being in a place like New York City that's not built for it. If you're in Miami and you're like, oh, there's hurricanes all the time. Yeah, of course there's hurricanes all the time. And they know it and they're built for it and they're ready. You go to fucking New York, they have a subway system. They don't know shit about hurricanes. All the fucking apartments leak. They're not ready for it at all. And so that to me is like an actually more dangerous situation versus like something like Puerto Rico, which, you know, yeah, it's bad. And yeah, sometimes infrastructure goes down, but they've dealt with these things before. And there's enough like social norms at layer 0 to be able to like not have a complete chaos where you have like people robbing each other for gasoline or food or shelter. You know what I mean? Like crazy shit like that where you want to own a gun. Like I'm less afraid of that in Puerto Rico because it's just smaller. And so it's just like easier to contain. It's just like, it's more local. There's no like, people are going to be going across the mainland to like hunt for shit because like we're on a fucking island and we're actually kind of far away. And like, you know,
I think there's something to be said for like, I don't know how off this is, but like people living in environments where like shit's not always perfect, and layer 0 being capable of handling disaster. Like California, fucking rains, everyone loses their minds. Like they couldn't deal with anything, and like one small thing goes wrong with their lives. It's just like there's no sense of community. And I think like the sense of community to some extent comes along with like the community needing to like survive adverse conditions together. And California is just like sunny all the time, so everyone's like totally out for themselves, and it's like not a community. Then like New Jersey, even, it's just like sometimes it fucking snows. And I think like just the fact that, you know, bad shit could happen for some reason, I think it like brings people closer together. And like, I don't know.
It could sometimes. I heard a story from my buddy Andy. I don't know if you know Andy Tudhope. He used to be ex-status, really smart guy. He leads Colonel now. He's like one of the, literally, I actually think he's the smartest person I know. Wow. He's also the closest thing. He like has like I think a PhD from like Oxford or a master's.
What's his last name? Andy what?
Tudhope, Tudhop. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, my point is he's like an incredibly smart guy, the wisest person I know, the most loving person I know. Like anyways, my point is he's a very dear friend of mine. And I completely forgot. Oh, South Africa. He's from South Africa. And so sorry, my brain is turning off. I've had a really long week, Billy. You have no idea. You have no idea. So He
Okay.
is based in South Africa. And so there was like a big uprising. I don't know if you remember this, like 2 months ago or so, there was some big thing where there was like their president was, going into shit with like a different tribe, like in one of the different areas. And then there was this whole, there's like a big Indian
tribes?
native population. Well, there's people who come from different derivations of tribes, right? And they ethnically,
Lord.
culturally, they're members of different tribes.
Yeah.
They're still South African, but and so there was this like sort of like bubbling up sentiment between like different tribes, and then like you had a sort of extra element of like a population of people who are like natively Indian, and I think were brought in as slaves many generations ago, but are like culturally and like generally Indian. And so there's like a different sort of dynamics. Anyways, it was bubbling up. It was this whole big thing. And I messaged him and I was talking to him on the phone. I was like, are you worried? Like, this seems like it's about to blow up. Like, aren't you whatever? And he's like, no, it's totally fine. It's contained to these two particular regions, but we have such a broad diversity of different types of people in South Africa that it's not going to get past those other states because everyone else is so different that they all kind of look at each other. They're like, you're not doing this, right? And everyone else is like, no, we're not rioting. Like, no riots here. Like, we're chill. It's just these weird people over there. And then it gets calmed down, it gets settled, and you have like more stability. And that's like stability through diversity and diversity in every sense of the word, in the sense of the word that makes you stable. And so like, that's what ultimately comes down to. People in California, they all fucking think the same. They all act the same. They're all the fucking same person. Or there's like three of them. There's three different people and they're all these three archetypes. Anyways, my point is,
what are the archetypes? I want to hear.
I don't know. I don't want to insult California people.
No, please do.
Surfer, male, and for the record, there's like a male, female, and gender fluid, whatever version of all these archetypes. There's like surfer archetype is number one. Tech bro archetype is probably number two. And then like number three is like what I imagine is really like what I call like the left-leaning NIMBY population, which is like very like politically speaking seems to be very left-leaning and like probably well educated, and like they probably moved to California. They're not from there, but they vote there now. And in general, they have a very sort of like, they want the right things and they stand for the right things, but they're like, they don't actually do the work to achieve the thing that they want to achieve. They're very like NIMBY, not in my backyard kind of mindset. And SF is the prime example of this, which is a very sort of NIMBY example. But I think it's a general, it seems like a big California problem. But those I think are the three major archetypes. Of course, there's many smart people who are beyond that, who are moved there, or transplants, whatever. But the like California archetype, that's what I think. NIMBY.
That's like, I feel like that's like a lot of early consensus people. Like, we want the change, but we're gonna just not work.
I don't want to talk about consensus. I'll be very honest. My time at consensus, the only thing I'll say about our time at consensus, which was many things, was that I smile. I'm thankful that I can now look back on it and smile like with joy. And it's like a long movie that like sometimes you laugh, sometimes you cry, sometimes you're scared, sometimes you're excited. It's like, it's all of the things. It actually like dings all the boxes, and it was great. And I'm so thankful for it. And I love the people I met through it, like you and everybody else, whatever. But at the same time, a lot of crazy shit happened. And I don't want to be the person who tells a lot of the stories about the things that we saw. It's like not my place. It's not my job. I have too good of a relationship with people who are still employed by or work at consensus that like, I don't want to do that. But that shit was crazy. The things we saw were crazy. And like, I crazy. People who know it was crazy, and everyone else thinks it was like kind of whatever, but it was like actually crazy.
Actually crazy. Yeah. I think that I'm a huge like pro consensus person, like regardless of what happens or whatever, because like, if you zoom out, like the amount of things that it has done, maybe not even intentionally, maybe Joe meant it intentionally because he's operating on like a totally different plane of existence, but like,
I like Joe. And I like the games he plays. But I also think that there were games that were played at consensus that
True.
I don't want to say we're enabled by him, but certainly we're allowed by him that like don't reflect his values, don't reflect the values, the best of consensus, and like mistakes were made, and he's a human person, and that's like we were learning as we went. Like you think this entire archetype for Maiko, the entire way that people think about DAOs, you think consensus wasn't trying to try that live in person as we went? We had no idea. But like, it was crazy. We learned a lot. And a lot of those people are now building a lot of those things because of how much they learned. But like, that's what it was. And that's what Joe was trying to do. And that was the fundamental value above all others. It wasn't make money. It was like, do the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that people look at consensus and they're like, consensus didn't do the thing. But I think it did the thing, because look at you. You started Maiko. And imagine if you didn't have consensus, like I don't know where you'd be, but you might not.
Yeah, of course. I would be nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. It's a completely different. I'm a completely different person. Absolutely. That's why Joe's on our cap table. For the record, Joe is one of our investors in our last round, because I was like, yo, Joe, like I not only do I feel a personal sense of gratitude to him, and this is because he let me build bounties as a startup. He funded the startup while I was still in college, and he didn't make me quit. And every other VC would have fucking made me quit at that time. They would have been like, give away, pause your degree, whatever. He let me almost flunk, but I didn't technically flunk. And I also technically ran the company. And so like it all worked out. And so I feel a debt of gratitude to him. So he's on our cap table and he's a great investor. I'm very happy.
Yeah. Fuck. That's incredible. Yeah. Joe's like such an incredible person and totally underappreciated. And like he did it. He did the thing. And I don't know. He's definitely going to get a whole lot of credit for doing the thing. Especially, but like he's not going to get as much credit as he deserves, because people they're not attuned to like the subtleties of the things that go on around Joe, and like the moves that he's playing this chessboard that people don't understand, and they're like, he doesn't get appreciation for like the moves he's making because they're subtle. And
he doesn't want the appreciation. He's not doing it for the appreciation. That's why I respect him so much, because he doesn't care. He'll do what he has to do. Like, it's not about what other people think. And that I think is the most important part of like Joe and the game that he plays, is like he's playing not just at like crazy levels, but he's playing like he talked about that inner strength of being able to like set an intention and follow through on it. Like Joe understands the way the world works. And so, and that's why I have very deep respect for him, because he seems to understand it, not perfectly, but certainly better than anybody else I've ever met. And I feel grateful to have worked under his mentorship to some degree, even if only just because I could see the inner movements and I could see what the hell was actually happening behind the scenes, which was like the most invaluable thing.
Yeah. I think it's just like, there's not a lot of extremely wealthy people who are like willing to try something really new, put everything on the line for something that like could fail. It's like they see a world vision, throw everything at the wall to try to make it succeed. And like Elon did that, and that's why he's at where he's at now. But Joe was way more radical than Elon. Like Elon's ideas were like electric car. Yeah, like it makes sense.
Right.
Like, let's go to space. Yeah, obviously, let's fucking do that. Joe is like, entire world paradigm shift. Let's not only try to make this paradigm shift happen, but try to make it happen in an organization that is also going to reinvent how organizations just like it's like
I think that's the key, is he not only innovated on the like way that you innovate, but he also like pushed people's boundaries to a place that they never were. Like and that's like Joe Lubin, ex Goldman Sachs Joe Lubin, of like, he knows how to think at a global stage, and he knows what that big picture looks like, and so he can go to like young Vitalik on his Teal Fellowship and like building Ethereum, working at Bitcoin, whatever magazine, and like wants to build this thing. And Joe could be like, you have it. I know you have it. I'm certain this is a guaranteed win. Like, let's do the thing. It's already happened in the future. It's already happened in the future. And that is the skill. It's like Richard Branson talks a lot about this. He's like, it's not about being lucky. It's about knowing when you are being lucky and taking advantage of those situations. We're lucky all the time. I don't think anyone is any more lucky than anyone else. The only difference is some people notice it and some people don't.
Yeah. That's a good fucking point. Like, oh man, he's just so smart. It's crazy. It's like, I think he's just seen the future. Like, I think that
Maybe.
some otherworldly beings have shown him the future, and that's why he has this supreme confidence, or he just like fully believes, and so of course the universe is going to change to accommodate his needs because he fully believes. Like, fuck.
I don't
because
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
you know, like when like this when we exited crypto winter and like we started hitting our stride and the world started going to shit simultaneously, like all the pieces are falling into place. I'm like, I texted John, like, we did it. And he's like, never had any doubt. No, like, but like he said it way better than that, but said it in a way where it was like, he literally just like didn't have any doubt. It's like,
yeah,
I had so much doubt. I was like, Ethereum's at $80. I'm like, we're all retarded. Like the idea.
I remember.
Like I don't know.
I remember. I remember those days. Yeah. No, I remember. Yeah, man. I don't know. The whole like Joe from the future thing. All I'll tell you is it's one of those things. Here's what I'll tell you. And there's a class of things I call them like gray area fiction. I don't know if they're true or not, and I accept that I'll never know. I accept that I will never know the truth about Joe and whether he's from the future or not. And there's literally a part of me that thinks he's from the future, and then there's like another part of me that's like, no, I've talked to Joe, like he's this human in front of me, like he's not from the future, he's living in the present moment. But ultimately, like I am forced to reconcile those two things, and that's my job. But yeah, like there's a speech he gave at Ethereal. I'll never forget it. The 2047 speech.
Oh, I love that one.
Like, yeah, that was his. I think that's his best speech he ever gave. And
yeah.
I attended almost all of them. I was at all those conferences speaking too. So I always sat through Joe's speeches and I listened to all of them. That is the best one he's given by far. It was the most prescient. He knew what he had to do. He like did the thing. And then like, since then he's been giving less speeches, if any at all. And in general, like not doing the same thing. And so that I think was his like last thing.
That was like, he just laid it out.
It was the last transmission. It was a transmission. Yeah. But yeah, man, he was playing some crazy game. But I also think that he's smart enough to recognize that it's not, like the way you have to approach these things, at some point it stops being about you and it starts being about the thing playing itself out through you. And I think Joe also recognizes that and recognizes that like he is but a vessel for the creativity of the universe and that not all ideas are his and he wouldn't take credit for them. And that's why he doesn't, because it doesn't make sense to. They're not all his.
No.
I think that's the right way to approach all this stuff. It's like none of these ideas are mine or anyone else's. Like they're everybody's. So
yeah. He did an AMA with Consensus in San Francisco, and I think this is when it happened, but someone said something about like all these like wild bets, or I forget when it was, but I feel like it was that time. But they're like, why are we doing like this thing over this thing? And he was like, we're building an entire new like ecosystem, like an entire new class of things. And like, who am I to decide what's right and what's wrong? Or like what ideas should be built? Like, I don't have all the answers. Like, what if that person is right? Like everyone thinks they're right. That's why they're doing, like every person in the world is doing things they do because they think that they're right. And so like, he's like, who am I to decide that? He's like, let's just try everything because we don't even know what we need yet. And so like, it's the fucking like, yeah, the answers. He knows that he doesn't have all the answers, and he just like like that's the thing. He's like empowering. He going back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like he understands the potential in everyone, like everyone's unique potential, and like the things that they don't even know they know themselves. Like, people don't even recognize their strengths themselves, but Joe sees it in them, and he's like, "You are great. Do the thing." And unfortunately, a lot of people weren't ready for that. And you know what I think?
Myself included. Yeah. Are you fucked? Yeah, myself included.
Totally. I think there was like one end of the spectrum where people are like just coming out of school and they've lived their whole lives being told exactly what to do, live by this structure. And the whole goal of it is to like not live by that. So when someone just like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, they just do nothing, which wasn't good. Then you have the other end of the spectrum where you have the people who have lived in corporate fucking culture their entire lives, and they also don't understand like their potential. They've just been told exactly what to do there for 60 years. And then when they don't have to do anything, they just don't do anything. And then you've got like the people in the middle where it's like, I think there was like a sweet spot of person. And fortunately enough, I like landed in that sweet spot where it was like, I just kind of like wasn't so programmed that I couldn't break free and like not contribute if I didn't have to, where like I recognized that the freedom was not like do nothing freedom. It was like the power to do whatever I wanted, and to like, this was the one opportunity to like make I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, freedom is freedom. We got freedom at Consensus in all forms. Like all I'll say is I have a very vivid memory. I'll never forget this in my life. Joe, I had this very intimidating view of Joe for a very long time. I met him when I was like first an intern at Consensus. And so my view of him has constantly been the view that from the initial impression I got of him from that intern phase. But I will never forget, there was one day I like was asking for his approval on something when I was like starting bounties. And he like on this chain with like a bunch of other people who were approving some budget expense or doing something and, you know, giving me some important decision. He sent a link, I think, to the YouTube video of Whitney Houston's like I believe the children. I don't know what song it is, but it's the beginning of the song. It's like, I believe the children are our future, teach them well, let them lead the way, show them all the beauty, whatever. Joe sent that to me in an email, and I'll never forget. This was early on. I didn't know Joe at the time, and I was like, what? And that was that side of enabling people and empowering them and recognizing something in themselves that they don't know themselves. And so yeah, I don't know. I that's not to say I didn't bite off more than I could chew. And it takes a process of like, you have to realize what you failed at. It's like a learning process, right? Like we shut down bounties. This is like a deep cut. We shut down bounties at the beginning of 2020. And I spent most of 2020, I don't want to say coasting through life, but generally like living a non-founder life, trying to like lick my wounds and rebuild my identity and my sense of self and understanding of myself and all these different like sort of really core, important foundational things, but also trying to learn like, what did I fuck up the last time? What did I miss? I obviously made a bunch of mistakes. I clearly have to do this again. I can't be happy if I don't do it again. And so eventually I'm going to have to, so I might as well do it sooner rather than later. And what did I do wrong the last time to make sure I don't do it again? And, you know, some mistakes I've learned from, not all of them. And there's still mistakes I'm learning from, and I'm still, you know, but ultimately like you have to, the only way to do it is to try. And that's like what is it, like Teddy Roosevelt, his whole speech of the man in the arena, right? Like how nice it is to be on the sidelines and to tell people how they should and shouldn't act. Like try being the person doing the acting. It's a lot harder, you know, and like and it's much more, I would rather always be that person who strives and fails rather than be the person on the side who says what was good or not, because at least you tried and at least you did something rather than like,
So to that point, I think that, and I'm sure Joe is right about this because he's way fucking smarter than me, but the way that I feel is that people, and maybe that sweet spot that I was talking about doesn't even exist, but like most people, and maybe the sweet spot that I'm referring to, I only created it in my mind because that's where I sat and I'm trying to like
contextualize.
Yeah. But, like, I think that people generally aren't, going back to the DAO thing that I was talking about earlier when we did this workshop, it's like people aren't ready to have complete freedom. And I don't even know if complete freedom is good. It's like you shouldn't just be left on your own with no guidance, no mentor. Like you as a person in college should not be a founder with no one to like be your mentor. You need help. Like, sure, you can.
I would have succeeded more the first time, but the second time wouldn't be as successful. I don't know how to put it. Like,
I disagree, because you look at all of history and it's always like the mentor and the apprentice. And the way that you learn a specific skill is by having a mentor who's gone through all these problems before and like passing down the knowledge that they've learned through those. And sure, it's great to go on the hero's journey and experience the problems yourselves, but like you're only going to get to here. But if you want to get to here, just like we're talking about the survival thing, it's like society builds you up to here so that you can get here. But if you have to start from scratch, you're only going to get to here. So you need the person.
I think they're different things. I think there's like one aspect, which is the tutorial aspect, which is like learning skills, learning muscles that you need a mentor for. There's certain things you have to learn from other people. You can't learn for yourself. It's not worth it. But as a second part, and this is like the hero's journey is always a journey of self-discovery. Ultimately, you learn more about yourself. That's like the whole point of every hero's journey is they discover themselves, they self-actualize to that sense. And so you can't do one and not the other, i.e. you can't just learn about yourself and not learn any skills. No, you have to actually learn how to apply the things you know about yourself to be able to do the things that you want to do. And then at the same time, you can't just learn a bunch of skills, because if you've never tried it and failed, you've never been tested. You don't know your limits. You don't know what you can do, you don't know what you're good at and bad at. And it's only, and this is like to Joe's point, I don't say it's perfect, but to Joe's credit, enabling everyone to do everything gives them that blank slate to then do whatever they want. And they will, into that infinite context, create the thing that they are capable of. And that is the whole exciting thing about abundance mindsets, in my opinion. It's like once you get to the point where you're not worried, you feel free. Freedom is a feeling more than anything else. Freedom is a mindset. And once you get that mindset, then the question is, okay, well, what does this person do with that mindset? Do they hang out a lot and like sit around a lot and like whatever, which is great. And I enjoy doing that sometimes too. And I'm going to do it tonight and tomorrow because I've worked really hard and I feel like I've earned it. But eventually like, you get tired, you can't sleep all day. You can't, whatever. And so eventually like everybody feels an internal sense to pull towards doing things, and you should do them. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say like everybody something. It's like only the Sith deal in absolutes. I don't know. I think everybody's different, but I've always felt in myself, like I feel uncomfortable when I, sit at home for too long, don't do anything.
That's why you're
too lazy.
That's why you are. So if the answer to that question was at some point of doing nothing, people get bored or like unsatisfied and want to do something, the world would be so much fucking simpler. Like I hope that's the answer. And I have optimistically thought that for a very long time, but I'm getting more and more pessimistic over time and thinking that like there's a lot of people out there that really just don't want to do, like we're just in a fucking bubble. Like I really hope I'm wrong. And maybe it's society's conditioning that has forced them into this position where they just want to like take a little rest for their entire lives. But like, or maybe it's like past lives and they're just reincarnated. Sure. This is their life to just hang out. But like, maybe that's something we need to factor into the equation. Maybe we don't blame people for why. Maybe we're like, yo, you made it to this incarnation in life because like your past life was really fucking hard. You contributed a lot. And we're going to take your past life into account and we'll provide the safety net. And so like, if that's the answer, then like we should have a baseline that people can't fall through. And we should have like some sort of UBI. Where I think UBI goes, or like it's maybe there's some small amount of like continuous UBI, but where I think the UBI comes from is people monetizing their own data and them just like living their own lives. The more unique lives they live, the more interesting data they create, and the more interesting data, the more valuable the data. And then they start to monetize just like them living their true selves. And through doing that, they get some amount of money. Maybe it's not the yacht money, but it's enough to sustain themselves. And then they can just like be their true unique selves, sustain themselves, and then everything's cool and singularity. And
I think I agree. And I think like my personal view politically, from a political perspective, is one of like voluntary communalism, right? Where you can have people paying, UBI for all the members in the communities I'm a part of. And like, yeah, if you're a member of one of the communities I'm a part of and you're like really down bad and you need help, like you have to make a request from the group. You have to say, or, you know, I have to be comfortable enough like asking. But
Yeah.
if you like say you need the thing, like we will absolutely help you. And I feel comfortable doing that personally. And I think a lot of people do too. And that's like where I think a lot of this goes. And,
I don't
and it
think-
happens at a community level rather than like at a coerced level. And I
Yeah.
think that's like an important aspect of this is like voluntary thing, you know, voluntary capitalism is the best. And going back to what you said
Sure.
earlier about getting burnt out, like I think voluntary work is the best too, where like, you know, like for me, I'll give you an example. Like 3 weeks ago, no, like not 3 weeks ago, like a month and a half ago, I got super burnt out. I had been building micro product for like 2 months, 3 months. I had been heads down, literally hadn't taken vacation, hadn't taken a break. I'd been coding a lot. I'd been just like, I was super burnt out. And I had to like sort of literally unplug. I could tell I was about to get like even more burnt out. It's only getting worse, spiraling out of control. And I had to unplug, literally turn the machine off, and say, I will not start working again until I feel guilty not working. Because it was starting to feel like I was being forced into it. And it's something that wasn't coming naturally from me. You know, like I wrote this Michael blueprint. I wrote that blueprint in, technically speaking, almost a day. There were parts of it, little small parts of it I wrote prior. I wrote it in basically a day because it just came out of me because it was all there and I just had to express it. And I had to feel comfortable doing that and ready to do that. But if I didn't feel ready to do it and it felt like it was being forced from me from other obligations that I have, it feels uncomfortable and it feels bad and you don't want to work and work feels like work instead of play. Versus like today I wrote a big document that I sent to you, which was like our deck. And I wrote that today on the spot, almost in one sort of like fell swoop. And it was done. And that was, it just like sort of came out and it didn't feel hard. It felt really easy. And that's the ideal way that work feels. And to get to that point, you have to unplug and force yourself to stop, force yourself to literally miss work. And not just like the first time you miss work, you get back to it. It's like, wait for it to build up a little bit. Let it build up a little bit. And you'll remember like why you missed the thing that you missed, because there's a certain part of yourself that is empty when that is not happening, when you're not doing that thing, when you're not expressing that part of yourself. And so and for me, at least, that's what it comes down to. And I go through these cycles and it happens locally as well as on a bigger scale, which is that, yeah, like sometimes I get burnt out. You have to step back. You have to remember why you miss it and get back to it from a voluntary place rather than from a coercive place, because the best work, the best things happen when people are creating them voluntarily, whether that's art or technology or whatever.
I think that is a way to go about it. That
Tell me why I'm wrong.
probably it's better than what we've got now for the masses. But if you want to be great, you're not going to do it doing what you're doing. Like being great means doing what's uncomfortable. Like the only way you're really going to like fucking progress and become like the best version of yourself is to do the shit that's uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
like
I agree with that.
Shit. It's
but I don't like the word
he
great.
doesn't want to wake up at 5 a.m. every day to fucking run, but he fucking does it because he's David fucking Goggins, and that's why he's the best. Like
exactly. I think there's
like,
something
I don't feel like doing this, so I'm not gonna do it. That's what I've been doing.
Right.
And it's like, it's great, but like,
it's fun until for a certain point.
You're living in the freedom zone. That's the conflict that I have right now. I'm living in the freedom zone. It's like, I'm just doing the things that I want to do. And then I'm like, am I ready? Do I feel like fulfilled enough over here to get ready to fucking grind and do the things that are uncomfortable? Like, well,
so the other element here is like, you'll know, like, and you shouldn't do that until you know, and you'll feel it. Like, I remember I was like, I don't know if you remember, I was working on Coven for a long time and I was like trying to build investment software.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was just a regular software engineer and I took that job knowing I could fulfill it and it would give me the free time to be able to like really understand myself. And the conclusion I came to eventually after like 3-4 months of doing that was like, I need to build DAO software. I have seen how this works, this blueprint, the blueprint I published on Monday, that first version of that blueprint was visible to me in 2019. And I, in 2020, felt like shit not doing anything with it. I was like, I know how this shit works. I know I have this thing I can offer to people and I feel bad about myself not doing it. And I feel like it feels ungrateful. Like I've been giving this gift and I've not done anything with it. And so I'm like, I have to do this. It's not a choice. Building Myco is not a choice. We don't pay ourselves a lot. I'm not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
I do it because like, I can't do anything else. I literally could not do anything else. It would feel like too bad. And so my point to you is like, with regards to the like sort of sitting on the sidelines, like you'll know when it's your turn to get called onto the field, but you have to be sitting there waiting to get on the field. If you're sitting there being like, wow, I really love sitting on the bench, this grass is super comfortable, like I'm really tired, I'm catching my breath, the universe is not going to call you into the field because they knows you're fucking tired and you don't want to be there. You know, you have to want it. And the final thing I'll say about this is my favorite saying of all time, which is that pressure makes diamonds. And like you have to, if you want to be diamonds, and everyone should desire that, you have to put yourself under that pressure and you have to be uncomfortable and you have to push yourself and try hard. And yeah, like of course, that's where the best of everything comes from. But you know,
like,
if you don't, that's also okay
opposite.
too. And like, yeah. What?
You just said the opposite then.
Because it has to come from you. That's the key. When it comes from you, when you get burnt out and you step away, you wait until it comes from you. And if it doesn't come from you, it's worthless. If it's absolutely worthless. The world is forcing you to be a diamond. It's absolutely worthless. And it only makes you feel like shit. And you get drug addicted and then you die. And like, that's how those things happen. If you want to be a diamond and you feel that within yourself, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play and you're having fun and you don't really care about the stakes because you know what you're doing is the thing you're meant to be doing. And like, it doesn't matter. You're sprinting to the finish. That's what it means to live a full life, in my opinion. It's not to just sit around for as long as possible. I don't want time on the clock, this obsession with large numbers. I want like a life well lived.
I'm just thinking, okay, so a concrete example is like, you set an alarm, 5 a.m. goes off, because you're like, I know 5 a.m. I'm going to fucking work 16 hours today because I need to do this. Alarm goes off. Your whole body, your whole being is like, fuck that. Like, not a fucking chance.
Right. I'm not a morning person.
Do you go? Yeah, I know.
You think I'm a morning person? I'm up at like 11:40.
You're not a morning person from exactly what you've been saying. It's
no,
like,
absolutely not. I'm an evening person. I work when I want to work. I work when my body tells me to work. But if my body tells me to sleep, I sleep. And I don't schedule meetings before certain hours. And I work into late hours. And I like the private time. It's quite wonderful.
It's a
no one else is awake.
Nice way to live.
Yeah.
I think that there will be the person who really doesn't want to get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
But they do. And then they also work late, but they get up at 5 a.m. and they work the whole day. And they're going to outperform you. That's the great person.
I think that there's always going to be people who will grind harder than you. Like finance is a great example of this, where it's just this like, it's this obvious game of like who can grind harder than all the other people. And like in a world where grinding hard gets you to that place, then it's fine. But from what I've seen in the world of startups, like I'm a founder of MyCo. I know I have to be docs. I have to be what is technically a public creator. I'm on podcasts. I'm talking. I have to live a life that is sustainable. I can't live a life where I'm like bags under my eyes, feel like shit all the time, working 16 hours a day. You can't work 16 hours a day for 4 months in a row, let alone 2 years, 4 years. Like that's the time scale I'm thinking of. And honestly, dude, that's why I live in Puerto Rico. People like to think, people always ask me, their first fucking question is like, oh, you moved to Puerto Rico to take advantage of the taxes. And I'm like, no, I moved here to move. They're like the most perfect beaches on the planet in a part of the United States, continental United States. They're like, literally, I live in paradise. I get off of 8 hours of Zoom calls and I walk on the beach and I swim in the waves. It's the most calming sound on the planet. Like,
so nice.
It's like I watch the sunset every day. Like people are like, oh, you're here for the taxes. I'm like, no, I'm living my best fucking life here. And but my point is like, I wouldn't be able to sprint as hard as I do if I didn't have the beach. And when I was in New York, I remember this very vividly that like, okay, I'm done a long work day, but I go into the city and it's like, it's still a lot of this. It's not like nature unplugging. It's not the extreme opposite. And so PR gives us the opposite. And so, you know, that's a more sustainable situation to run that like as fast as you can, but not for 6 months, but for 2 years in public, you know, in a sustainable way, etc.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sustainability.
It's right. All that matters is over time. Whatever you're doing at any given moment is worthless. What matters is how long you've done it in a community, in a company, in a project, in your skills as an individual, everything.
Well, if that is all that matters, then you can, if you're putting in more hours a day, then you get to that point of putting in more time faster.
That's true. The Beatles did play 10,000 hours of music, and 10,000 hours does make you a master. Like, I'm not going to deny that you can get certain skills faster by doing things faster. But at the same time, there's a certain degree of like personal development that occurs.
Yeah.
Like not only are you learning certain skills, you're learning how to learn faster. You're learning how to like play the global game faster. And that requires time, that requires rest, that requires like reflection, that requires slowing down and taking a hike or walking on the beach. Like my best, dude, I'll go and body surf and I have like, I have to write this thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like super whatever. It feels like really cloudy. And then I'll go and body surf for like 45 minutes and I'll come back. I'll be like, okay, here are the 3 points. Here's the main thesis. Here's this thing. Here's how I'd word it, blah, 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 blah. And I sit down 30 minutes, boom, it's done. And I've actually spent less time than if I had just been grinding for 6 hours straight, butting my head against the wall, trying to figure something out. It's just not efficient. Working hard is not the point. Like working smart is, and you don't need to work a lot of hours.
Yeah, I agree. On that note, I'm gonna go to sleep.
It's late. We've gone, dude. I don't know what your timer says. I don't have a timer.
3.5 hours.
This has been the longest podcast I've ever done. This is also like you cut to the core of all of my core belief systems. So if anyone's ever listening to this, like this is everything. There's nothing else. Like we touched on all of
it. Yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm like, what the fuck else am I gonna talk about the rest of all of my podcasts? Like that was it. That was everything.
I hope not. No, I'm sure you'll have people, because the thing is, I only know I have like a flashlight over a certain part of the world, but there's shit I don't know. And like shit I'm always trying to learn. I'm going to listen to your Evan Van Ness podcast. I'm going to listen to all the rest of them because there's things like, I'm not perfect. You think I know everything? You think I'm the singularity? Like, I don't know shit. I know like
that's Joe Lubin. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but evidence suggests like even he is not like that perfect. Like, no, nobody knows everything. You just know different amounts. And like your goal is to learn more. And that's like always great, but we covered some cool stuff, but it's not incomplete by the slightest. And maybe in like 3 years when you're much more famous and I'm much more famous and we'll be like, people will actually have listened to this first one. They'll be like, hey, Mark and Billy, like you guys should do another one and maybe like talk about the updated version of what the things you talked about at the beginning. And I'm sure we'll say different things because we'll have learned certain things because like we don't fucking know anything. We don't know shit.
Or the world will be in flames. We won't have the internet, and we'll be like making fires together, trying to survive, hunting food and shit. Like, and
I'm down, dude. I'm down to cloud. We'll drive to Rincon. We'll talk.
Yeah,
we'll drive to
Rincon. It's already like that over here. There's no internet half the time. Like, there's never fucking power.
It's already. What are you like using your fucking stick to make a fire to make an internet connection? Mm-hmm. Anyways, it's been a pleasure, dude. It's been a pleasure to chat. I love jamming with you about this.
I've got like 8 empty beer bottles around me. Like I can't believe how many beers.
I don't have 8 empty beer bottles. All I'll tell you is I've drank a lot of Pama and a lot of Costco size red wine, and bottles are not finished because they're like mega size bottles. But
let me see how much you drank. I feel like I don't believe that you drank that much.
I mean, I drink a lot of tall glasses. Like I can show you.
Don't make excuses. Don't pour some out in the.
So here's pour some. So here's like a full bottle, and here's like how much of the Pama I've had.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Not bad. But the wine was technically open before. Wine bottle is like here is the level, but it's like a Costco wine bottle, and I've been drinking.
Wait, where was it before?
I don't know where it was before. I don't know. I think it was like 1, maybe 2 glasses out of here. Like I don't know.
You didn't drink anything the whole podcast.
I drank fucking Pama. This shit is 17%. I'm like, I've been drinking all of this. I drank half a fucking bottle. These bottles are big. These bottles are 750 milliliters.
Dude, I need like a better. And
I smoked some pot. I mean, that has to count for something. You need like a proof of pot. Yeah, the light has to be above you. The light has to be above you. That's the key. The light is above you, and you have to make it less, put a white piece of paper in front of it so it becomes less like sharp and more like diffuse. And then literally like those umbrellas that they cover the thing.
This one has like variable settings.
Oh, it's like a ring light. Okay, then set up the full tripod then if you have a ring light. Yeah, that's perfect. You want it around the camera, but if you have to have the tripod.
I have a camera. I bought a really nice camera just to fucking record this shit.
Are you using this camera right now?
No, it's my Mac.
Yeah, I thought so. Why don't you use any of the good equipment?
Because I was not ready to fucking do this. I was like,
my hot take.
How are you gonna do it? What's your hot take?
My hot take is that audio.
Are you on Ethereum hot takes?
No, it's not a theory. Audio quality matters. Video quality, you want to keep shitty to make you feel authentic. It looks weird when people are, I've just noticed personally, like it looks weird when people have really high quality video, but like high quality audio, you don't really notice, but it's kind of like nice to have. High quality video just like feels weird. It's too high production value. It almost feels like fake. Versus like you keep yourself a little bit, like rough around the edges, the pixels are a little there, and like, you're still like a real person. You're not like, fucking celebrity with your big camera set up and
yeah,
I don't know.
That shit's stupid. Well,
Yeah.
I need a little bit better camera, I think. Before you go, let me try to plug this in and
Sure.
make it do
You
it.
haven't been using the mic the whole time?
No.
I'm running with a HyperX. I think it's a HyperX. Yeah. HyperX something. I don't know.
Weird flex.
Let me-
but okay.
Let me show you what they're not that nice. I don't know. I got a recommendation. I think they're literally like the same cost as the one that you have.
What's
This is the mic. This is the mic that I
microphone?
have.
Oh wait. Fuck.
Yeah, let me move all these things that are in the background and you'll see.
Shit's plugged in.
This is the mic and it's like on an arm that's
I know.
attached to the monitor. But it's nice and I can
Oh wow. Dude, I
just touch on top.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Uh-oh.
You're frozen. Your video's frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fuck.
Can you hear me? I'm
Oh, my
speaking.
speaker is my microphone. That's not gonna work. How about now?
I can hear you. You can't hear me. Your speaker's wrong, not my speaker.
Yeah, now I'm good. How's my microphone sound? Is that better?
Speak
Works?
into it.
What?
Speak into it. It sounds similar. Are you sure you're using the right one? Yeah, it's better. No, that's good. It's good. It's definitely better.
Tell me. In my light again.
You have to set up like the gain or whatever to like pick up the right distance of you between the thing to like.
Let me know when it's good. How about now?
Okay. Yeah, that's better. That's definitely better. Yeah.
How about here?
That's good. No, that's better. That's actually better than the one before.
How about this? How about now? Louder? Good?
It's
Perfect.
fine. It sounds good.
You're sure it's better? I guess I'll fucking recording.
You'll hear it. It's just like it doesn't do as much like echo stuff and it sounds like more crisp.
Okay.
You want to be able to talk. You want to be able to talk.
Oh,
to
look
it
at you.
like that.
Wait, where the fuck? I don't know what I unplugged. Damn it. It's probably important.
I have no idea. But a good microphone, I think, will like adjust for you automatically. I think that's how they work.
I've got limited USB slots and I had to unplug something and plug this in, and now I don't know what.
How old is your MacBook?
It is working, motherfucker. 20. It doesn't have USB ports. So
USB-C.
USB. So I have to have the fucking I have like 8 dongles for all
Yeah,
my.
I understand.
So annoying.
I'm running on an old MacBook, but this MacBook's life is almost over.
I've been waiting for the new version to come out with like the M1 chips or whatever. So
Yeah,
next
M1
version of
16
MacBook
inch.
that is released, that is 16-inch with the new Apple chips, I'm
Yeah,
splurging on for sure.
yeah, I think that's the plan. For now, I'm running on my old
Sorry, go ahead.
2013 MacBook.
2013?
I would never forget this. I bought myself like my first MacBook when in like 2010 or something. It was the white clamshell ones and they were great. And I learned this lesson the first time, which was that like when you buy a MacBook, buy the top line possible. And I bought this 2013.
Forever.
Right. And I had this like HDMI, I have the mini display port, I have like 2 USB, I have a SD card slot. That's like the last machine they made with an SD card slot. Pero I have like an i5 chip. I have 32 gigabytes of RAM, or maybe 16, but like a lot, like enough, and basically the same as what they're selling these days. I have like a healthy amount of RAM, and technically speaking, the OS and all the software isn't built for my hardware, so it's not optimized. So it's like a little slower sometimes, technically, but it like mostly is fine. And yeah, I'm running a computer from 2013, which is like 8 years of life. on this bad boy. This thing is my
That's
baby.
crazy.
I've had this for a very long time. Yeah.
We got to get you some seed funding, dude. I'll get you a new MacBook.
Well, it's not seed funding, it's a community round. First we do community round, then we do seed funding. That's the
Okay.
step. Because
Community round.
seed funding is going to be very,
I should get into the last one.
competitive. Yeah, I mean, you miss out on like a 2x, technically speaking. On
2x, motherfucker. God damn it.
Yeah, 2x on like whatever you'll end up making. Like whatever the thing is from here, which is itself like an extremely abundantly fair deal, like 2x from there. Yeah, that's how venture works.
And it's
that's the
$1
whole
billion.
point.
How?
But the key
factor.
factor.
Venture's so annoying, dude. It's so easy to make money. You just throw darts and everything 100x is.
Well, I don't know about that, but the key factor, in my opinion, maybe, but the key factor, in my opinion, is like you have to. Like, okay, here's what I'll say. Like when we raised capital a year ago, we didn't have screenshots. We didn't show anyone screenshots. We didn't show anyone a demo. We kind of had a loose view of what this blueprint was, but we were super vague about it. And you had to basically bet on us as people. And if you were degen enough to be like some of our investors were new, some people knew us, some people, whatever, but like ultimately, and some people like knew what we were building and understood the space well enough that they're like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. But you had to have some degree of like confidence that what we were generally outlining, but you had to already get it basically. And if you got it, you could like make an easy 2x on like a year, which is not amazing.
I don't know if it's not about getting it. It's about believing in the team to realize a productive version of the thing that's being outlined. Like, yeah, it's fucking, there's a lot of great ideas, but it's like, okay, how the fuck are you gonna do that?
You have to go over time. You have to take the thing and move it over time and be like, what does this look like across a year or 10 years?
And it's hard.
Time is the most important thing. That's why everything is across time.
That's all we got. Well, imagine if there was no time. We'd just be sitting here.
2-dimensional. So we're like 1 3-dimensional instance of ourselves.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. What's the 5th dimension if the 4th is time? Like
people call it energy. Some people call it energy. Some people call it like love. Like, I don't fucking know. Physics don't know how to describe it, but it clearly appears that there are like connections between certain things across the 4th dimension, across the 3rd dimension. Like there is like another layer, at least one other layer that describes things. But I think the thing that like to think about is like you have a 3-dimensional thing across time, which is like a line. And then you imagine like that line itself across other dimensions.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that like, they intersect with each other. So you can imagine like time loops where time from the future goes back and touches the past for a moment. And it looks a lot like the squiggle behind me because that's time, but it's constantly intersecting with a bunch of different places and different points in time.
Do you think that is true? Do you think time isn't linear? Like, I feel like it is. I actually don't know, but I feel like time is like maybe it just goes one direction.
So there's a couple of things about this, the one directional piece. I think there's an aspect of the future talking back to us. I think there's an aspect of the past talking to us.
Good fucking point.
I think there's many layers to it. I think there's been some studies about like particles that like they know where they need to be in the next moment. And so they go there based on what the future has to be. This is like cutting edge quantum science. I don't know this like super well, but I know there's like people are looking at the idea that like basically the future informs the past, not just the past informs the future. It's not just prediction into that sense. And
have you heard the theory? It's like, okay, like why are we building all this shit? And there's one theory that says that there's like a thing that exists in the future that is
causing us to do this. Yeah.
That is making us build it.
That's the singularity. That's the universe. That's the universe.
Yeah. God damn. On that note,
this has God damn.
It's been out of
period. New line. End of podcast. Close Zoom. Shut down laptop. Go to sleep. God damn.
Crushed it. No, Jesus Christ. I won't take the Lord's name in vain. Cheers. But, cheers. I didn't even talk about my drinks. I have Medallita. I didn't even know it's called that.
Oh, it's a medallita. Yeah, because it's like a little baby medalla.
Look at it in my hand. It's like a little baby cup.
It's so small, dude. You need a bigger beer. For the future audience, you should shame Billy if he continues drinking such small drinks. You're like, I drink 8 beers. You drink 8 medallitas. Drink like, which is like what, like 4 medallas? How many is that?
7 ounces. It's like half a beer.
It's like half a beer, yeah. Let me
Ounces?
beer bottle.
Yeah. I think 12 ounces. Is your Mac just really fucking slow? 'Cause it's from
11 and varied between 11 and 13 ounce. So
Okay,
yeah, like basically just over 2 ounces. Or based over just over half of.
So I had like 5 beers. That's not too much.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's like fine. It's
Proof
been
of
great.
Drink.
chatting.
Episode
Proof of
1,
Drink.
because episode 0 was episode 1. So
I will
episode
watch.
2, but yeah, watch it. It's totally fucking different.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you talked to Evan. Of course. Dude, I'm so excited. I'm like, there's no way these episodes are the same, which I think is actually perfect because
Perfect.
like it's totally based off of the context. But anyways, yeah.
I wonder people aren't gonna make it through like the first 30 minutes. But like maybe that's
this
like
one.
maybe that's the Easter egg. Is like you got to stumble through the first 30 minutes of us rambling to get to like the good shit. So maybe
You have to have heard enough good things that you're like, this seems promising. I don't know what I'm going to get, but I might get something. And then you're actually going to get like the secrets to the universe and like literally the playbook to how to play life, like decoded in plain English and inscribed on Zoom. Like I've never had a conversation like this that is as direct and simplified and explicit as this one. Like if you are listening, like this is it. I don't know anything else.
That's literally Proof of Drink. That's what it's for. Just get everyone drunk and then they just fucking tell you the secrets of the universe. Cheers.
That's the key.
All right, brother. Well, what are you doing this weekend? Maybe I'll cruise out there. Actually,
yeah, hit me up. Hit me up if you're around in PR. I mean, I'm chilling, dude. I had a crazy week, I told you, so I'm gonna just like schwitz and sit on the beach. And yeah.
All right, we'll chat.
I'll see you next weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Peace.